Hello and welcome back to episode 37 of the Boxing Social podcast in association with Betfred, with me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, before we get started, I'd just like to ask everybody, please, to like, follow and subscribe. Turn those notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, I am joined this weekend by former WBO super-featherweight champion of the world, Mr. Barry Jones. How are you, Barry? Nice to see you.
I'm good, but if you were the boxing news, you would just say WBO title holder.
Well, you wouldn't be anybody. If it was boxing news, you'd have been like, I don't know.
Don't slag them off and just say.
No, I'm just saying, like the way that they do it now, they only recognise one per division. I'm joined by the number 17 ranked super featherweight of his era, Barry Jones.
I wish.
How are you, Barry?
Unified champ. Yeah, I'm alright, mate. I'm good. You've been a bit mean, though. I have to say, before we started this, and like everyone know, don't like and subscribe straight away. Right? Have the option to not like and subscribe because he hasn't been very nice. Like you see the Rob on camera, he's all nice and I was going to say cuddly.
I'm not definitely not
chubby. Nice and chubbly cuddly, but he's not always nice. He's a bit of a. Can I swear?
You always swear.
Oh, do I always? Because so many punches, I forget. And yeah, he's punchy, and I'm punchy. He's punchy, and he's not very nice to me at all. So yeah. So anyway, after that, let's go. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, Barry. We've got a lot to get through today. So now we've got that nonsense out of the way. I'm actually a very nice guy off the camera most of the time. Let's talk about this past weekend of boxing. Let's start first and foremost with Conor Benn. Very impressive and sensational knockout in the fourth round against Chris Algieri. Was it good for you, Barry?
It was good for me. Yeah, thanks. It was. This is weird. Yeah, I started this, I feel. But I thought he was fantastic. Now, I know everyone's going to go, he's a 37-year-old guy who didn't come with ambition, and all that might be true. And and everyone wants to just criticise straight away, but I thought his performance was spot on. The third round was the best 3 minutes of his career. He was flawless. This is an aggressive fighter who's learning on the job, but you can't keep pulling that out forever. He used the jab superbly all through the fight, actually, however long it lasted. But like the third round, he used the jab perfectly. He was head movement, lateral upper body movement. His feet were good. His right arm was right. It wasn't a looping right arm. It was right on the track. I thought he was fantastic. Those 3 minutes, I was working for radio, and I just said that's the best 3 minutes of his career by a million miles. He was just on point with everything, and I thought if he can do that always, now he is a contender-ish. I still don't see. The problem he has is he's in such a horrible, fantastically horrible weight that however good he is, I still can't see him being good enough to beat the guys who are there now, and possibly the guys who are waiting in the wings to, obviously, Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz Jr. always get mentioned, and rightly so. I still put them like way above him. So it's an issue for him there. But judging him on his own performance, he was fantastic, and the knockout itself was brilliant. It wasn't just a beautiful right hand, which it was fantastic. It was the jab. He dipped low, like you should against a tall boxer. You should go low. Because when you go low, they've got a guy who holds his hands up high like this. You go low, you get a different. I've said this before to you. You get a different look at the target. So you're looking like this most of the time. But you go low, a fighter we're going to speak to later, he always changes his height all the time, so he gets a different perspective of his target. You go low, you can look up, then you can see there's a different gap. Now, there's no gaps in the defence when you square on, but you go lower to the side, there's different gaps. All of a sudden, you see a gap, and then he punched right through it with a lovely straight jab, squared him up against the ropes, and then threw that right hand right on the line, and he was done. But the jab set it up. And his jab was superb. And he was a different fighter last night than he was the fight before, and the fight before that, and the fight before that. And I don't know going to call he's the most improved fighter in the country because he sort of had a go about me saying that recently, a while back, sorry. But he looks different. He looks better. He looks much better. He looks like a genuine kid now who wasn't just pushed on because his name was Ben. Who wasn't just pushed on, because he's a famous kid before he does anything good. He looks like a genuine guy now who's earned his stripes.
Yeah, he's a legit, in my opinion, legit top 15.
I should have said legit.
Legit. There we go. A legit top 15.
All the good words, mate, don't you?
Anyway, he's a legit top 15 guy in the weight class, which, look, I think if you were sort of talking about maybe some of the other divisions in boxing, you said somebody's top 15, it's not that you mentioned earlier, the 147-pound division is so deep and has been so deep for such a long time that to be top 15, 10, 15 knocking around there is such a compliment for that division. It's so deep. There's so many good fighters. that, I mean, I know we saw after the fight, I think he said himself he's a top 5 welterweight. I don't necessarily think he's quite there yet, but there's no disgrace in that. And considering
You
kind
should
of...
tell him.
I'm actually seeing him on Wednesday.
He's the sort of kid who would encourage that sort of feedback.
Yeah. We'll see. When I see him on Wednesday, you're probably a top 5 welterweight now. He's quite an intense character. But no, going back to his performance, I thought he was very, very good. Interesting you said about the jab, the feint beforehand, which sort of drew the lead from Chris Algieri as well, and then shot the jab in the right hand afterwards. And what a brutal knockout! Algieri. I mean, Algieri's somebody, we've seen him in the past. He's so tough. He is so game. He looked like an absolute Adonis on the scales as well. He's a nutritionist. Essences, like his thing.
Everyone was saying that Saturday how great he looks. It's like, it's not a beauty contest. I would never box if it was. But no, what I mean is, looking good. But being in shape is one thing. Being conditioned for your sport is another thing. So that was the worry about. You've trained out, you looked the part, and your body's great, and all the nutrition, so you've got an 8-pack and all this rubbish. But being conditioned for the sport, like being used to taking punches.
That's kind of where I was going to go with it. He is so conditioned, looks so great on scales, but he's been in a lot of hard fights in his career. The Provodnikov fight, which of course has kind of launched his career. I mean, that must have been what, 8-9 years ago.
14 or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it then? Yeah, it was a long time ago. That was a grueling fight. He had the Pacquiao fight, which was a grueling fight.
6 times went down the Pacquiao fight.
Yeah. What kind of fighter would go down that many times in a world title fight?
No, but the thing is, he went the distance and I never. But I went in with a bigger puncher, but Pacquiao wasn't that good.
Yeah, exactly.
The Freitas, come on.
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to that later because there's a question I want to ask you actually relating to that. But anyway, and yeah, I feel like obviously you can't take anything away from Conor Benn, and you don't want to be one of these people who says, well, he was washed up and he was 37 years of age. I think it's probably safe to say that Algieri has seen better days. He's a natural 140, but still, it was a very, very impressive performance.
Yeah, it was, and like, it was great matchmaking because you've got a guy who's been a world champion. And the other guys, it's all been good matchmaking. I don't mean good matchmaking as in safe matchmaking. It's been good matchmaking for his development because he's developing in the public eye. There's been no development like a lot of, even like some like a great like Joe Kazagi. A lot of his developing was done behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So you didn't really get to see. No one got to see some of those fights. But Ben's has been done in the glare of the public eye since day dot. So it's been a harsh reality for him to face at times. But his resolve is fantastic. He's stuck with his task. He's also earning plenty of money, so there's a motive there. Let's be honest. But he's a rich kid who didn't need the money. Let's forget that. Well, always he's so angry. He's got the attitude and the chip on his shoulder, like a council estate kid, like where most of us boxers are from. That sort of air. If we're not from areas where everyone's getting stabbed and shot, we're from areas with poverty. That's just a fact. Most of us, but he's not. And he's quite unique. He's not the only one. There's another one now with Campbell Hatton. But he's getting to the top now, or closest to the top, with no need to fight. There's no need for him to fight, but he has that anger with him. And it is everything. Like, he listen to this now where we're praising to the high heavens. And people will go online going, oh, another one sucking on Conor's things. And people say all that all the time. But he will see the negatives in what you say. Straight away. As soon as you say something, he'll go, hang on a minute. What'd you say? I barely said anything, Conor. But I think that gives him the motivation and the steel to want to get to the gym and train hard, because he can't draw on a hard upbringing. You can't draw on having nothing. You can't draw on watching your dad go out and work 15 hours a day so you can go to school. Or there are all things that most of us have had to put up with. I'm not doing an Isaac Chamberlain here, but that's true. That's how it is. Or watching your mate get shot or stabbed. Whatever the kids have gone through, he hasn't had that to draw on. That steel to make I need to get this. I need to get to the top. I need to get the best. I need to win as much money as I can. So he finds him in other areas. But he's constantly an angry man. His
chip on his shoulder is very much I'm not just Nigel Benn's son. I'll show you I'm this. I can be. He wants to make his own mark in the sport, which I think where he comes from.
You've got to embrace it, though.
Yeah.
No, he's a fighter of his own right now. And he's good in his own right. I'm not saying he's the best in the world, because he's not. In his division, he's certainly not. But he's good in his own right. Wherever far he goes, he can fight now, and he can box, and he's proved that. Last night, Saturday night, he proved not only can he fight, not only can he punch, he proved he can punch more again, but he can fight. He can box, He can box, he can use the jab, he can move his head when he has to. And it might be a guy who's past his sell-by date a little bit, but didn't everyone make their name like that? Joe Kazak, he beat... I'll go back to Joe. He beat Eubank. Who was past his sell-by date. and that's how it works.
That's how every boxing just goes. Like, doesn't it? Goes in cycles.
Yeah, it is. That's but you learn off those fights, and that was another learning fight. The only thing he hasn't done is boxed a puncher, or a real hungry fighter. I mean, at a higher level. He hasn't got that yet.
Sort of getting to that stage now where that's kind of maybe not next. I mean, we'll come on to what potentially lies ahead for him and the names that have been mentioned, but that's kind of maybe after the next one. That's when you start getting around to title level, particularly at welterweight, you're going to run into an opponent like that at some time.
You've got to start eliminating each other now at some point.
Yeah.
Though in this era, you can sort of go around that, but not in that. I think
less so at welterweight.
In that division, there's no going around that. Because again,
no.
we say people go, oh, those top 3 and 4. And you go, hang on a minute.
There's a top 10,
top
12,
3 and
15,
4 are big names. But yeah, I said the top 15 are impossible. You said it yourself, haven't you? Top 15 are almost impossible to even think about fighting. So
well, they're all hard fights.
He belongs in that, though. I feel. I think what I think you find with Conor Benn is he's exciting to watch, and he'll be in a good fight whether he wins or loses. And I think that's for the public. Let's just focus on that. Unless you're a Conor Benn fan or you hate him for some whatever reason. Don't worry about if he's good enough to be a world champion. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. It's a lottery and luck for all of us, unless you're something special. His dad didn't have all the ability in the world. He had intangible things, like that innate toughness and that desire to
punching power.
That punching power, and explosiveness. Those are good stuff. But his boxing ability was quite poor, I felt. He could box better than you think because he was a good class amateur as well. Let's not forget that, ABA champion. But he wasn't technically the best, but he made up for it in other areas. You can't be the best at everything. You can, but then you're Sugar Ray Robinson. That's how it works. You can't be the best at everything. You can just hone your skills and work on the things that you can't do good. And I think Conor Benn works on the things he can do. He doesn't do as well. And I think that was evident on Saturday night.
I agree. I think because in the last 2 fights that he'd obviously had the Adrian Granados
fight.
It's
ridiculous. You have to agree. Why would you have me on here otherwise? It's just rude otherwise.
Well, yeah.
Come on my show and I'll disagree with you all night.
Barry Jones social. back in full force. But no, his last couple of fights, particularly the Adrian Granados fight, he really struggled to cut the ring off, and he struggled to kind of sustain any of his work. I felt like he improved on that. And even beforehand, I felt the jab worked really nicely for him against Sebastian Formella, but still he wasn't really able to pin him down and have that sustained success. Whereas it wasn't like he didn't pin Algieri down and let his hands, but it was the consistent pressure. He was always doing something in the ring. Whereas I feel like in the past, sometimes we haven't seen Conor sort of join up his work, so to speak. He'd box, they'd move, then he'd have to reset, start again.
What he's learning now is he would put pressure on you. He'd dive into his attacks with ferociousness, and that would be the pressure that you'd panic with. But now he's doing a bit like his dad used to do, but not as intense. But his presence is pressure.
Yeah.
And not like a Golovkin way where they use their feet to smash. It's not a different way. And it's not as crude or as ferocious as his dad because he's trying to box a bit more. But he's a constant threat on you. And that in itself is a pressure. So you can still move, but what happens then is you put yourself in a corner. And he's learned how to do that. So he's not cutting the ring off, but he's forcing you to put yourself in the corner.
Yeah. I spoke to Chris Smith before the fight, who they'd had Shane McGuigan had Conor Benn down to spar Robbie Davis, and that's one thing that Chris Smith said. He's got
a good win.
Yeah, a very good win. But he said about Conor Benn's presence in the ring. He has a presence in the ring now where he's taken all of the things that he's learnt and he's kind of added it to his intensity and his punching power and everything that he's kind of naturally got, quote unquote. And he's starting to put it together now. I've actually watched him spar 3 rounds against 2 different fighters on 2 different occasions, and I saw him score 2 knockdowns across 3 rounds of sparring on 2 separate occasions.
I hope he's paying these people then.
Yeah, I think he's paying them. Whether he's paying them enough to take those shots, I don't really know. But anyway, moving on because
I gotta say, but he's also like Tony Sims deserves all the credit, fantastic. But he's around really good technical fighters, Felix Cash, Joe Cordina. They're real good technicians. So you learn more off the fighters you're with than actually the training itself. That's the truth. That's why Joe Calzaghe's been so successful, because they're watching him all the time. So then you just success breeds success. So he's learning how to be neater with his work, how to be tidy, how to be smart, how to think more, to engage your brain more. Because Joe Cordina, Felix Cash, that's all they do. Now move on.
Thanks, Barry. Moving on, Katie Taylor successfully defended her undisputed lightweight titles against Firuza Sharapova. Do you think we've seen the best of Katie Taylor now as a pro?
I think we probably have, but I quite enjoyed it, actually. The problem is, And I said this, and I was working for the radio, and I said, like, I know more than most. When you're not a puncher, you're never going to be, unless you're streets ahead of the person you're in the ring against, you're never going to be it's never going to be an easy fight for you, because you don't have that raw power to either put them on their back foot all the time or make them panic when you throw punches. And because she doesn't have power, then she's got more power than I have, but get that in there for someone that mentions it. Because she hasn't got raw power, then you're not afraid to throw when she throws. And I thought Sharapova was quite good, actually. I think her tactics in the early rounds, I think, and this is what Kate did as well, Kate Taylor never panics, ever. So when the rounds are nip and tuck, she don't worry, but the other girl does. So it's like an emotional roulette. So the other girl will commit first. And when she commits, Taylor with her footwork in and out will take the half a step back and then go boom. All top class Irish amateur boxers do it really well. It's a left, right, left, or a right, left if you're southpaw, and they always get you with the last punch. And she does it as good as any. So, and that's what gets them. Now, but in the first like 3 or 4 rounds, when it was quite close-ish, the in and out footwork was going. Sharapova was doing the same thing, and Katie Taylor, when she threw 3, she would throw with her. Or throw back. When she threw on the second or third shot, she would throw her 2 shots. And I think she had to adjust a little bit, but she keeps the same pace, or she ups the pace, and then you either can live with the pace, or you overcommit because you're panicking and the fight's close. Well, she doesn't worry. And I think that's her strength, that she does never, even though her face looks like a constant panic all the time, but she never worries or panics about anything. She always thinks, I know what I'm going to do. They'll commit first, and then I'll take over. And in this, from round 4 on, it was all. Even though the rounds when she wasn't massively dominating any round, she was winning all the rounds, and so it was on the scorecards. It looked like an easy night for her, but again, she's never going to have an easy night. But you still feel she has to be better against Amanda Serrano. Yeah. A lot better.
Amanda Serrano, of course, returns this weekend on the Jake Paul undercard. She's actually boxing...
you said it.
What's her name? She's boxing somebody, I think Miriam Gutierrez, who Katie Taylor actually boxed a couple of fights ago. I think Amanda Serrano will look good in that. But before we move on, because fucking Barry interrupted me and he threw me off. What next for Conor Benn? We haven't spoke about that, of course. That's obviously the hot topic from Saturday night. He's called out Khan Brook, the Khan Brook winner. He's also called out the Can Man himself, Adrian Broner. What would you like to see next for him? Is it somebody like that? It's kind of going down this... we kind of touched upon this before, he's not the first, he's certainly not going to be the last fighter to, take on, let's be honest, like people who are past their best and maybe you've seen better days in the division.
The thing is, if he wants, what are you fighting for? That's the truth. If you're fighting for money, solely for money, then Khan and Brook that's the right move. That's the biggest money fight you can get. Because pay-per-view here, that'll do fantastic. Yeah. And you'll get a fair share of that. Because
can you see either one of them wanting to box him, though?
No, I can't. But if someone says you can get 3 million and they think, I've retired pretty much now, and I've just boxed another retired fighter, but I can get another 3, 5, 6 million, whatever they would get for it, it would do better. See, one of those against Ben would do better than them two do.
You reckon? What Khan versus Ben will do better than Khan versus Brook?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I bet you.
No.
I bet you. Yes. I think Khan anyone with Khan does better. The Khan's the draw, I think, still. But I think Khan versus Ben
is a bigger draw than Khan versus Brook.
I do. Right now I do, yeah.
I have to disagree.
That Ben name's huge, mate.
The Ben name's huge. Khan Brook and kind of the demand for that and the way that it's been.
I think because the reason why Khan's a bigger draw, like Brook's a big draw himself within boxing. The reason why Khan's a bigger draw because he steps outside the world of boxing. So he's a celebrity, he's a name, and so is Conor Benn now. The Ben name is a name outside of boxing. So people go and watch Ben just because of the name Ben. They don't know who it is. People, Ben's boxing. It's what's his name? It's Nigel's son. It's Nigel's son. Let's go watch Nigel's son. I bet you he's good. And they haven't probably seen him box, but they'll pay the pay-per-view. They'll watch on DAZN or wherever it goes on. Sorry, it'll be on Sky pay-per-view, but it goes on DAZN.
You never know. I think if the fight was possible to be made, and I think they'd go wherever it was. But you know what I mean. I have to disagree. I have to think Khan Brook is a bigger fight. I think that does at least sort of 500,000 pay-per-view buys.
It's a bigger fight for us in the boxing world. We think it's a bigger fight, but I honestly think the names that transcend the sport. I don't think Kell Brook transcends the sport of boxing. He doesn't. No, he doesn't. We live in a bubble.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I agree. I agree with that.
Star
For sure.
of British boxing. He's been, and I'm not putting him down in one and nothing. It's like David Haye. David Haye versus Tyson Fury is the second biggest fight in British boxing.
Because of the
second
names.
or third.
Yeah, because of the names.
So Tyson Fury and Josh was the biggest fight, and then David Haye versus one of those is the next biggest fight. That's the truth. That's the truth. Because he's David Haye. Because he transcends the sports. Because he's been on that jungle program, and that's what makes. They did there was a thing in the paper, and he went Amir Khan, boxer. Didn't say world champion, boxer, and I'm a celebrity contestant. That was a bigger thing than the boxer part. Oh, he's a boxer, but he went, I'm a celebrity. This is a big. So we live in a bubble in our boxing.
Yeah, I can see that, and we definitely do live in the bubble, which we always have to keep reminding.
Which is a great bubble to live in, by the way. I love it, But
yeah,
I mean,
moments.
I just see it. I see it that way. But either way, if he's in it for the money, then we go back to the point. If he's in it for the money solely, then boxing one of those is the right move.
Let us know what you think in the comments. Whether you think that Khan Brook or Conor Benn, who's right, me or Barry? I think personally, Conor Brook.
That is, of course, if you have watched and subscribed and liked, you might not have.
Yeah, only do that after you've liked and subscribed and turned your notifications on, and then comment and let us know what you think is a bigger fight.
But if he's in it for respect, like he talks about, and I almost said the word legacy then, but if I ever say legacy, punch me in the face, and if you can catch me. But if respect or a blueprint you want to leave, a footprint you want to leave, I should say, then there's the fights. Aviation's a better fight for you.
Say that again.
Aviation.
Avanesian.
Well, whatever. The guy with
the Russian guy.
The guy with Carl Greaves. Is he Russian? He's not Russian.
He's Armenian, I think.
Armenian
Russian.
Well, that's worse than what I said. I got his name wrong.
I think he has Russian citizenship. He's Russian citizenship. But anyway, forget about that.
But that's the fight. That's a better fight for him. We would have more respect as boxing fans if he boxed him.
Yeah.
Or Kavaliauskas.
The Russian. Mean machine.
He's not Russian.
No, he's not Russian. He's Lithuanian.
But
geography lessons with Barry Jones.
Yeah. No, the former Eastern Bloc fighter. he would have those fights. We would go, whoa, that's a tough fight to take. Yeah. Go on.
And that's probably better developmentally for him. Not even probably. That's a better development fight for him, you would say.
It's all risk, no reward.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually,
particularly if you've got those, like you've got the winner of Khan Brook. I personally can't see either of Khan or Brook boxing Conor Benn, personally.
No.
But, that's a big fight over here. Broner's kind of the name that's been mentioned about him potentially. That's a big fight for him in America, personally.
That might be the move.
I would be surprised to see it happen. I know we've seen in recent weeks, Broner's been all over Twitter saying, oh, well, I might have to go and see Eddie Hearn and box on the zone. And, from what you can see publicly, apparently the relationship between him, Heyman and PBC is not necessarily as strong as it has been. But when you've invested so much money into him over the years as they have, and you've made so much money together, I know he's not under contract there, but I can't see him going away from Showtime, PBC, Heyman, to then go and what he's doing in that fight. Look, I give him pretty much no chance of winning that fight. The Broner of the last 4, 5, 6 years even isn't the Broner that we saw at super feather, lightweight.
Yeah, no.
He's not that anymore.
But he's still good. But yeah, but not big enough.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he is still good. I mean, his last fight, Giovanni Santiago, he lost that fight. He should have, right there, Jordan. He lost that fight. He certainly should have lost that fight. He did nothing for the whole fight.
Shouldn't be texting when you're meant to be working, mate.
Guys, awful, unprofessional on the Boxing Social podcast.
Rob will sack
him. But I don't see Broner being fed as the sacrificial lamb to allow Conor Benn, a Matchroom, DAZN guy.
Broner won't see it that way, and also. No,
I'm not saying Broner sees it that way, but I'm saying the people who signed his checks for the last 10 years.
The reason why that fight won't happen is because Broner will go, yeah, I'll fight him, no problem. Give me 4 million. And they'll go, don't be so stupid. Because maybe that might be his benchmark. See, I don't know what he gets.
Yeah, I mean, he's
paid good money,
ridiculously well paid, but
overpaid.
If you're an American, say you're Heyman, your PBC, if you're going to feed Adrian Broner to somebody, you're feeding him to a PBC fighter, surely.
Yeah. And But Eddie Hearn has publicly said about his fighters. He's happy for them to fight on other stretching.
I'm sure he's happy for them to fight on other channels because they've got all of the subscribers in America and they've got the big platforms in America. Maybe kind of 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when DAZN USA was more of a focus for DAZN, we saw the comments of John Skipper and they're focusing on other territories and what have you, obviously over in the UK this year. I think that maybe they would have been willing to overpay then, but I don't really, from certainly what we can see, the USA isn't as much of a focus for DAZN as a global company as it was.
Because Hearn or Matchroom, Hearn, whatever, they're pretty much our DAZN. They're almost like one company. It feels to us off on the outside. Then.
Well, DAZN have an equity stake in Matchroom Boxing USA.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
No, I mean over in the UK, man.
Right.
Because this thing, the partnership they have, then. They still need subscribers. I'm sure they're doing really well. I'm sure they're hitting their targets and figures. I'm pretty sure they are. But like again, we live in a boxing bubble. Boxing is not the sport that's going to make DAZN, a powerhouse
in the UK.
In the UK, they need it. Yeah, of course they need it.
Yeah.
And other sports as well on that. But I just feel that they will do everything to get a Conor Brook fight because that will help their subscribers
massively. So yeah, I completely
especially
agree.
American. In fact, the biggest fight for figures would be Khan and Ben.
Ben, yeah, for sure.
Rather than Brook, if he gets through Brook, which is a big ask.
For argument's sake, let's see Ben versus Broner happens. How does that fight go?
Ooh, have you ever one of those innie farts? Do you remember innies? So I didn't fart, but my stomach rumbled.
Just answer the fucking question,
It was
Barry.
at the back. But I'd fancy Ben.
Well, yeah, I fancy Ben as well.
I think he might go the distance. To be honest,
Broner is a tough
so
and so.
But I think Ben has shown a maturity to his work now. It's mad. It's mad when you think about what you're saying that Ben could beat Broner. Because Broner is just being an absolute talent.
I said something similar about Chris Algieri. Like you go back 4, 5, 6 years ago. I think when Ben made his debut, I think 5, 6 years ago. And around the time, okay, Algieri wasn't world champion at the time, but he still boxed your Spencers, your Khans, like those types of guys. If you would have said one day that Ben would have boxed Algieri as a headline event, knocked him out in 4 rounds, and then after that would be I think he'd be a sizable favourite against Adrian Broner, 4-weight world champion who came up and had these wins on the way up and fought Sean Porter and all of these other guys in defeat in that fight. You'd have been locked in a padded room somewhere.
See, I didn't. No, Saturday, I was going about. No, first, we got people going, that was a great win. We all said it was a great win. We sat ringside, of course, because we're not trying to get a job with his own. But no, it's not joking. No, we all said it was a great. Eddie's a great win. Look at me, Ed, look at me. But but it was. I didn't focus on who he beat. I focused on the way he boxed.
Yeah.
I think whoever he was in against, he was in against a journeyman. The way he boxed. The thought in his work, the concentration, the patience, everything about his work was fantastic. And so, who he boxed, to me, was almost irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, but that's what I felt like. Because I said, the way he boxed, the improvements, the way he's thinking about his work, there was thought in everything he did. And that was massively impressive. And that's great for moving on in going up in stages. The problem is, he's at the stage now where there's big jumps now. There's always little jumps.
Yeah.
You feel like they're big jumps till you get to the top. There's not. No, especially in his division. Now you're getting on that top 15 in the world or top 5 in his mind. You think that way. You should not. You should think that way.
Yeah, I mean, every fighter thinks they're the best in the division. Really,
yeah,
realistically,
most of them do. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Not us lucky bastards. It's like woo, yeah, champion of the world. but but he's not. That's the reality of it. He's not top 5 in the world because it's until he proves it. Of course. No, we're saying that he's there. Well, I'll prove you wrong and carry on. He's done it so far. You got to carry on. But I think how he boxed, the way he boxed, was fantastic. But Algieri, I still feel, was a good opponent for him. Perfect, and he's been a good fighter, but not the fighter everyone made out he was. Let's be realistic with that as well.
Has he ever been the A side in a fight, Chris Algieri?
No. But that's nothing wrong with that. That is commercial.
No, that's just popped into my head now. But has he ever been in a big fight he's supposed to win, really, is what I was kind of coming
I wouldn't have thought so, no, because even Provodnikov...
Yeah, but Provodnikov at the time, they were trying to line up for the Pacquiao fight.
Name another really good win he's had. Exactly. So he had one good win, and a great win it was, because Provodnikov was a monster.
At the time,
He was tough as anything.
He was supposed to go in... That's why Algieri ended up boxing Pacquiao. He was supposed to go into Pacquiao.
And what a fight that would have been, by the way. Even though Pacquiao wins, but not easy.
That would have been a great.
But
nobody beats.
But he's people say it all the time. You always got to be careful judging a person on his losses, and that's what Algieri's career has been judged on.
Yeah.
I'm not discrediting him because he's been a world champion and a genuine world champion, and he could beat a good fighter to win it, and he's had a good career, and he's been a good world class fighter, but just getting beat by better fighters. And that's so you judge him on that. And then they may end up going, tough he actually is, and that shouldn't be the case. But Ben was, all that can go out the window. Ben was almost punch perfect. He even took some punches in the early rounds. When you're aggressive, you're gonna have to. But in the end, he just shut Algieri down with the menacing demeanor he had, with his good jab, footwork. The output of Algieri was next to nothing in the end.
Right, we're going to have to move on because we've got a lot to get through. But before we do, I just want one name. It's just the opportunity to listen to Barry's pronunciations again. No. Who do you want to see next for Conor Benn?
Broner.
You want to see that fight next?
I'd love to see, yeah. I'm not a fan of Broner as a person. His public persona as a person. I don't know him personally. He might be a saint. But the way... I dogged it. But the way he acts, he's none of me. You know what I mean? I don't like all that stuff. The things he's said and done over the years in public, I haven't been a fan of it. So I appreciate his talent, and he's been really talented. He was a potentially great fighter who ate himself out of a career, I thought. But he still was good enough to compete at the welterweight. But I'd like to see Ben smashing to pieces. That's the truth of it.
I'm not really massively interested in that fight. I know after the fight I was kind of cheerleading Ben Broner, but only really for banter. But like I just don't really see what that shows us about Conor. But I put out a tweet. You can see what's going to happen. Broner's going to turn up. He's going to go behind the shoulder, throw 17 punches, lose every round, and tell everyone he won. But does
he fight then? Because
I think the fight to make is the David Avanesian fight.
No, it's not ever going to happen.
But I think that. But okay, you're not asking me. You asked me like. That's the fight I think I would like to see. And also, I think that the improvements that he's making, everybody seems to... Look, I think probably Avanesian would go into the fight as a betting favourite. But I think everybody is kind of looking at it like a grotesque mismatch. Or like you read what people are saying, like Avanesian goes in there and he bowls him over. Josh Kelly hurt David Avanesian in the second round of the fight. Obviously he got beat in the end and he kind of went out, and I don't think he necessarily boxed the right fight in that fight, Josh Kelly. It's not to say that he would have won any other way, but Conor Benn you're saying that word, he is very much improved. And I think that's a really good fight. I think that's a really good fight to make, and that will teach us and tell us an awful lot about Conor Benn. Realistically, I think it's going to be a Robert Guerrero, Victor Ortiz.
Brandon Lee then?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Showtime are trying to build him.
Well, I'm not saying what's going to happen. It's what fight I want to see.
Isn't he a 140? He's a 140, I think. Yeah, fucking shut up. Right, okay, move around to the rest of the matchroom card. We mentioned his name earlier. Robbie Davis Jr.
Yeah.
Hammering Hank Lundy, hammered into retirement.
He was a shadow of himself. Yeah. That's the truth of it.
But it's such a strange sport because he went the distance with Jose Zepeda. I mean, Zepeda kind of blows hot and cold. Sometimes he looks $1 million. Sometimes he looks £2.50. But... it was still a very, very good, impressive performance from Robbie Davis Jr. and one that he really needed, I think, to reignite his career.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a good name to have on his record because Lundy's again the names he's got on his record again, mainly losses, but he's had some really good wins, and he's a good he has been. I don't think he's a good fighter anymore, but he has been a good fighter. But Davis was again. I seem to say the same thing all the time now. But he was so controlled in his work. That's what I liked about it. He didn't have to bundle him over and rush him or anything like that, or get overexcited. It was just nice, clean, clear work. Yeah, and it was easy night for him, really. Let's be honest. It was good, really impressive, I thought.
Where next for him? I know there was some talk about a potential Lewis Ritson rematch. I think that's quite a good fight. Kind of hovering around that sort of level. Both of them around sort of fringe level, I guess you could call it, or maybe sort of win over Hank Lundy in a couple of rounds. You'd probably say that that's a fringe world level-ish type performance.
Yeah.
Winner of that, you could potentially see cracking like a top 10, 15. I know they'll probably both be ranked in the top 15 of a few of the governing bodies anyway, but we know what that's kind of worth nowadays. But yeah, I think that's probably a good little fight for him.
It is though. Again, would they make that now? Because he's gone and
Probellum, he's boxing this weekend, isn't he?
In Rayton, yeah.
Yeah, so wouldn't surprise, and he's sharing a card with Ricky Burns, so probably that kind of looks as though that's the route that they're going to go. But yeah, good win for Robbie Davis Jr. Final one on the matchroom card, Kevin Agyarko. made his matchroom boxing debut. Went a few rounds, but showed a lot. Yeah,
I thought he boxed really well. Again, he had a really good kid. He boxed a good kid actually, real awkward, tricky kid, and so he took him a while to walk him down, like, I think he boxed really well. Again, he puts his punches together well. I don't think he's a KO artist, but he's heavy-handed with every shot. And he loads up sometimes too much. But when he relaxes a bit, he's nice and smooth. His footwork's good. He can stalk you down. He's a good fighter. He's a good addition to the matchroom stable, I feel. And yeah, he's a good kid to watch out for. He got time. I wouldn't rush him. I say that's a good thing as well. The worry is now you see someone with talent and potential, and he's had, what's he on, 13?
Yeah, he's not had many fights.
Is he at 11 maybe? But he's again there's need not to rush him. He's running in, like when I was in whatever the title is, and and it's like to rush him on now, and I don't think there's a rush with him. So he's really good potentially, but I think he needs a few more tests before you start moving him up. But he looks good. He looks fantastic. I thought he looked good Saturday night. He wasn't happy with his performance, but he was in a kid who wouldn't keep still. So like, what are you going to do? Like,
yeah, it's good matching as well. You want him to go in there and get some rounds under his belt and sort of have something to work out. I mean, every fighter would love to go in there and blow him out in 30 seconds. But
that's a good say. I like that. Something to work out, because that's true. Because you want to be able to see people use their brain. Because it's easy just to throw punches, because a lot of it's muscle memory. When you got a guy doing something you're not used to, and that's where you have to use your brain and figure things out for yourself. Because all this game plan stuff that people massively go on about now, is pretty much all the bollocks. Like, we all have a sort of a game plan, but a rigid game plan is rubbish. Because if anything alters, you don't know what to do. So you have to use your brain. That's why world-class amateurs tend to usually become world-class professionals, because as an amateur, you have to think on your feet, because it's only 3 rounds. So you have to learn to think on your feet very quickly. And then you get used to doing that, and then obviously you take that into the program. You're being told stuff. You still, in those 3 minutes, you think for yourself. And that's how it works. So, yeah, and you have the experience from the amateurs to do that. And yeah, be able to do that as a professional is an art in itself. So having a rigid game plan is not always a good idea.
I think it's the first compliment you've ever given me. But anyway,
what did you say again? I lost what you said. I already know the word you said.
You'll have to watch it back live on Boxing Social.
Crap,
comment, and subscribe, Barry. But anyway, Kevin Agyaka. Yeah, I mean, I think kind of staying with him. Everybody wants to take a show to Belfast. We spoke earlier about what a great night that is for boxing, and like that's obviously going to be the carrot that's being dangled for him. And he's with Paul Reddy and STN Sports. Shout out Paul Reddy, former matchmaker for Matchroom, of course. And you can tell he's giving him a good opponent. They're giving him some.
Great to have a manager who used to be a matchmaker.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that we saw on Saturday night that he's not. He could be forgiven, or you see some people who Matchroom debut, want to go on a spectacular knockout. No, it's about the process and learning and planning for the longest.
He knows you got a good kid though. That's the thing with Paul Reddy. He said, "I got a good kid, yeah. I could match him, make him look supersonic against what? Against nobody."
But what's that going to do for him?
I know he's good.
Yeah.
And so he can produce the goods when he has to. And that's probably why he was disappointed, because he maybe thinks I'm better than that. I can do better than that. But I thought he boxed well. I gave him a compliment on Twitter, and he went, "Oh yeah, it was like below level for I used to, or something, like it was an average performance from me." I just put something like, no one likes to show off. but that's good. That you always want to look and excel to get better. He has loads of talent, loads of potential. But again, I wouldn't want to rush him too soon either. That's the thing. But yeah, the show in Belfast would be fantastic.
It certainly would. Okay, moving away from Manchester to Dubai. The IBF flyweight world champion Sonny Edwards made the first defence of his title against Jayson Mama. Mama said, "Knock you out." I couldn't really concentrate on the fight because Radio Raheem was in my thoughts. He was funny, wasn't he? But you can't talk about Radio Raheem. I can talk about Radio Raheem. I just choose not to. But anyway, moving on.
It was a good show, I thought. Yeah. And I thought, I'm the problem you got here. I'm a huge fan of Sonny's, so I can be impartial. You know that. If he gets beat, I think he got beat. But yeah, he's ready. I don't think he boxed great actually. He struggled the first few rounds, and I've seen him box much better because he's that good. But he still, he won quite comfortably. Yeah, he won more than comfortably in the end. But he didn't go off to a great start, but then like any real clever fighter, they just they change a few things and Mama was chasing shadows by the end of it. And you can criticize Mama for being one dimensional. Yeah, but he was trying to cut the ring off. But you can't cut the ring up with a kid who spins in circles and jumps and pirouettes and all the rest of it. That's what Sonny does. He's impossible. He's not impossible. He's been hurt before. He's been dropped before. But he's near, when he's really focused, he's near impossible to hit. He's the best he's the best flyweight in the world. I think he is. He beats Martinez.
Junto Nakatani.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good fighter. I'm not saying he's not. Again, like anything, you can go through every single division in boxing. It's very rare that you've got. So I think 140 is probably one of them where you can say, okay, Josh Taylor's the best in that division. Got all the belts, beat all the guys. Rest of the, I mean, Canelo 168. But the rest of the time, but Turbia 170. I'm talking shit. Fury. But again, Fury hasn't boxed Usyk, so Usyk, he can sort of say that. But anyway, going back to Sonny Edwards.
But I still think Sonny. I think Sonny on his, if the very best of Sonny Edwards is almost an impossible puzzle.
Yeah, I kind of made this point. We actually had Sonny Edwards on a Twitter space afterwards. I know you love a good Twitter space.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was about, I think it was 3:30 in the morning UK, so it was about 7:30 in the morning in Dubai. And he said that the adrenaline in his cut and the fact that he just boxed obviously kept him wide awake, and he jumped on and he joined us. And he said, like, for the first 3 or 4 rounds, kind of settled into the fight, and then he said he sensed Mama kind of slow down. He was flat-footed, and if you're flat-footed against Sonny Edwards,
got you.
Yeah, you're gonna really, really struggle. It's like the Martinez fight. What makes that so intriguing is Martinez got punching power, but he's also awkward rhythm. Like, that's the kind of style that you would really want against Sonny Edwards. Somebody who can he's unpredictable and he can punch.
Yeah, but you need quick feet.
Yeah,
I mean, the funny with Sonny, because obviously you look at him, you've got to be aggressive. Of course you are. It's obvious. But the more aggressive you are, that's what he wants you to do. He wants you, please. He's like this, Sonny. Run at me. Yeah. Come on, baby. Come to me. Come to me. That's what he wants you to do. And because then once you come at him, but you got to come at him smart. So it's just like, can I say this now? Because everyone says it. You got to set traps.
Show the
traps.
You have to show the fish the bait, as Ben Davison said once.
Is that what it is?
Show the fish. The fish has to see the bait. There you go.
I don't know about that.
You like that one, don't you?
You got to set trap.
But yeah, no, you do have to.
You got to put a 7 on his chest.
Junto Nakatani's massive at flyweight. He controls the distance well. He can punch. He's long and he can punch.
Yeah, I think long helps against Sonny because he does the leaning back. So you want to be able to go who can commit with the jab, but then keep down with full momentum and twist from the hips and throw the long right.
But just going back to what you were saying about his style, that kind of style, when done properly, when done perfectly, that's a hard style for anybody to beat. That kind of classical outside boxing, unless he makes a mistake or you can make him make a mistake, it's going to be really difficult for you to beat a kid like that.
And that's why he's very vocal on, and arrogant sometimes, Sonny, on social media, because he knows his style, his weight is not an attractive weight. It's disappointing it's not, but they're usually not. And his style is not always an attractive style for the people outside
we love it, but
the sport. Of course. So he has to, and also without a title, he doesn't earn any money. That's the thing. You all right, mate?
Bless you.
You got wind.
COVID secure in the Boxing Social podcast. But anyway, moving on.
Farting, I'm doing inside farts. He's sneezing in the corner. Rob's sweating, but that's all because he's overweight. But no, I think, I don't even know what I am now, but so he knows that he has to sell himself in other ways, and he knows without that title, he has no bargaining chip. But the fact that he's vocal and always keeping himself in social media, that helps. But he's beautiful to watch. Yeah. When he's flowing.
And I think from about the 7th round onwards, he really found a nice groove, didn't he? I think up to that point, he's still winning the fight, but up to that point, it was, I say Mama was competitive-ish in some of the rounds.
He was staying there. Just almost staying there.
But then after sort of 6-7 rounds, he said afterwards that he could feel Mama get tired after 6-7 rounds. And then after that, he kind of knew that he had him. I didn't necessarily think the knockdown was a knockdown. I think it was sort of a cuffing shot to the sort of it was more to the shoulder and the neck area, sort of bundled him over a little bit, but I think by that point, I think Mama had been in there for 10 rounds, done the same thing each round, but just got progressively slower and easier to read for Sonny Edwards. And then once you're easy to read and you're flat-footed, it becomes an easy fight for somebody like him.
What he does so well, Sonny, he hits on the spin.
Yeah.
On the pivot, I'd like to say.
There we go. It took us how long, but he's got one in there, the pivot. He managed to get it in before we talk about Lomachenko, which is unbelievable. So there we go.
But he hits on the spin, and that's really hard. And Lomachenko does it as well, but in a different way. But and that's really hard because he makes you miss and it just clips you. almost like you
Clip round the ear.
You know, I'd never hit kids, but when you slap your kid on the back of the head, like, shut up. It's like one of those. He's like, that's what he does. He clips you on the back of the ear.
He hits me when he turns up. You must get a clip round the ear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on with Sonny Edwards, the Martinez fight for me. There's a ready-made narrative. You got let's say the accusations and the way that Sonny has kind of goaded him, let's have it right, and kind of spoken about Martinez, who had his clenbuterol incident, which was roundly sorted out by the WBC.
Let's be honest with the whole story, right? When Martinez boxed Charlie, I love Charlie. When Martinez boxed Charlie, he beat him really. He hit him on the floor, but he beat,
the fight was going one way.
He beat him. He was beating him, right? And that was Charlie's get out of jail card. Don't blame him. We all said
Bradley Skeet
should have stayed on the floor and all the rest of it.
By the way, Conor Benn were completely off. Like, he showed great restraint to not hit Chris Algieri when he was on the floor.
Yeah.
Didn't he? He was on the way down. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, but then he fails the drug test. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm not liable for anything here, do you?
No. So I'll get sued anyway, so it's fine.
Oh, there you go, right. Yeah, so we So, according to all the strippers in his room, right? No, anyway, and he fails the drug test. So rightly so, he gets.
I don't think it was after that fight. Sonny has come out and said that it was after that fight.
Oh, okay,
he had elevated levels of clenbuterol, which of course is a problem with Mexican athletes, not just boxers.
Yes, that's right,
I think 23 of the 25 Mexican Olympic football team were also done for meat contamination, whatever you want to call it. Sonny made those no drugs, no champions T-shirts, which he sold out, and I think that he gave it to the family of the female boxer who passed away. I've actually forgotten her name, which makes me feel terrible. Which was, a great thing to do, a lovely thing for the family. But I can't imagine Eddie Reynoso, who manages Julio Cesar Martinez, doesn't train him, which is a common misconception. I can't imagine they were particularly happy about that. We saw Martinez speak about, the Williams Arroyo fight, which has been fucking delayed, I think 2 or 3 times. They finally fight and then it gets called a no contest because of an accidental head clash. So I think we still need to see what's going on with that. We asked Sonny Edwards in the Twitter space about what's going on with him in his next fight, because Ricardo Sandoval, who of course stopped Jay Harris.
Surprisingly good he was.
Very good, very good. He's also in line as a mandatory. I think Mama had to step aside to allow Edwards to box Talani.
Yes.
And then obviously had to box Mama. I think he could have gone in to box Sandoval next, but I think, Sonny was saying that Sandoval's team apparently not massively keen on forcing that through next anyway. He could box Mohammed Wasim, both MTK, a fight that could be made in the Middle East, of course, where Sonny has just recently boxed. And then you would think Martinez would come through Arroyo when that fight, if and when that fight does happen.
But it's an easy fight for stylistically.
Yeah, it's a very good fight for Edwards, and also a fight that by all accounts has been tried to be made over the years, and for one reason or another hasn't been made.
You've been in Scotland, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think that they've sparred in the past, and they've had their kind of back and forth. Sonny has a back and forth with everybody on social media.
I'm afraid to talk to him just in case he has a back and forth with me.
But that Edwards-Martinez fight, for a flyweight fight, and the intrigue that could potentially bring, you've got the built-in narrative with Martinez versus Charlie Edwards. Charlie was destroyed at the weight, whatever you want to call it, whether that would have made any difference. I personally don't think so. He won the fight. Admit it was no contest. He hit him while he was down, but the fight was going one way. He had him badly hurt. Charlie does that thing when he gets hurt, he covers up, he puts his hands up and he goes back in straight lines. And I think the fight would have probably been over in the next round potentially anyway. But that fight's a brilliant fight. The build up with
Sonny would.
And the thing is as well, for Sonny, the more he can try and get under his skin, the more he can try and get Martinez to go in there and load up and throw big shots, the more it would play into his hands stylistically.
Sonny will learn Spanish just to wind you up.
I don't think he'd learn the full language. I think he'd learn a few choice words.
He would learn the full thing just so he could. What's the word they do on troll you? Just so he could troll you. Yeah. He would do that just for that.
Who wins that fight?
He would. I still think Sonny. He can get knocked out at any minute of any round. That's what you could feel. But I think as good as Martinez is, and he can rush you a little bit, I just don't think his feet are fast enough for Sonny. I just don't see it. I think he'll close the gap, try and close the gap quick, but he's not the same as his brother. He's not a traditional mover where you can cut the ring off with Sonny, because he goes the other way. He literally goes the other way on a punch.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. He hits you here and then goes there. He's like, well, you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that.
I don't know how long Masters is going to stay down at the weight either. We've seen in the past he's had weight problems. But I think one of the Arroyo fights, hand injury, which is I think Eddie once said to me, he's fucking mental. Every time he wins, he disappears into Mexico, and you never see him for 3 months.
He's Cuban then.
He goes and has a nice big party. So, and also if you're Matchroom and DAZN, do you look at that fight and say, well, actually, hang on, we can move him up to super flyweight, and you've got Chocolatito, Sriketsul Rungvisai, Juan Francisco Estrada. While those guys are still around, they're big fights. They're big money fights. They're easier to make than a cross-promotional fight.
And also, as a fighter, just for your ambition, you're just like, you get to see you box like Chocolatito. Imagine that. It don't matter. I remember I thought it was never going to happen, that I might have possibly boxed Zuma Nelson. I've talked to you about it before. And I was like, he would have beat me. Even when he was 67, he would have beat me. But I was so excited that I'm going to box a legend. Like, he'd wipe me out. Like, even as an old man, and he still would have wiped me out. But just like get in the ring with a legend would have meant more than winning a world title. It's still not ambitious. But I mean, you're boxing a genuine all-time great, isn't he? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's what Chocolatito is. He's a genuine all-time great, a god of the sport, and share a ring with him, even past his sell-by date, and he's still good now, by the way.
Yeah, he's still
he's still too good now.
I thought he beat Juan Francisco Estrada in every match.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah. But he's still.
When
really
he was, I think I'm imagining your face when old Chocolatito was after that. He was crying and I imagine you sitting at home just with your little Nicaraguan flag.
Why little? Why can't I have a big flag?
Because it'll weigh you down.
Because your hands are not big enough.
Okay, moving on. We got there finally. Vasiliy Lomachenko. Automatically, Vasiliy Lomachenko but he didn't defend anything. He's not world champion anymore. Yeah, it's a strange one. Defeated Richard Commey. Hey, very good performance from Vasiliy Lomachenko. When you look at the thing overall, what were your thoughts?
He looks strong. That's my first thought was, he looked really strong. Because I've always said he wasn't a super featherweight. I said from day one. I know he boxes the lightweight as an amateur, but he just I think he just moved up in weight. I always said about Lomachenko, he only gets beat when he keeps moving up the weights. I said that about Mike Garcia as well, to be fair. When he moves up too many weights and they're just too big for him. That's all. But he's adapted. Like, he's amazing. He's so good. He's adapted. But then the Lopez fights, that's why he got beat. The guy's just too big. And that was a close-ish fight in the end. But he got beat because the guy's just too big, and all that little moves and that does intimidate the bigger people. But he looked bigger. Like, his presence was bigger. Commey's a big fella.
Yeah, he's a big lightweight.
And Commey's he didn't look that good, but he's a good fighter. And he's a genuine world-class fighter as well. This is not an easy touch for him.
Former world champion. He's only lost to good fighters as well.
Yeah, and I thought Lomachenko was brilliant. And he's just great. Like, the things he does. Every time I see him, I go, oh, all the time. Like, I don't know that many fighters I've watched, and every time I've watched them, I've gone, oh, every time. Like, some fighters you go, oh, look at that. What? But not every fight. With him, it's every fight. Because he does something else. Oh, look at that, what he's done now. He gives you the head almost. When, earlier on, I know another one. Downloading data. But he doesn't do that, because no one does that. It's a made up saying to make us all sound clever. But he is probing. Is that another thing? I can't say probing. That sounds new as well. But he gives you something to see how you react. Yeah. There you go. And then he moves. And then he just slip inside close. And that's how he puts you under pressure. Like he does it with the feet, not the same as Usyk, but it's a different way, because he gives you more of his body to aim at, because he knows he can slip and slide, and so he lets the punches. He has the confidence that the punch come over his head. Yeah. And he rolls underneath, so he goes in one way, always stays low, gets lower, rolls and dips out the other side. It's just brilliant. So you can never quite. So he's there. Like, bump, 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 bump. There's like 7 movements to everything he does. It's just ridiculous. And he does, but it looks like he's just going. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like. It's like a yo-yo, like that. So it looks like, but he's going boom, 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 boom. And like, how can you do that? It's so fast and fluent, and it's like some sort of magician. Yeah. Like you're cheating.
And then as the rounds go on, he starts to punch off the movements as well.
Yeah. But this time he was staying closer to the target and making you feel the power. No, he's not a powerful puncher, but there was weight in his punches.
Sharp puncher, though.
Yeah.
105.
But the fact that he dropped Commey with a short punch.
Yeah.
That's when I thought, hang on, that's not Lomachenko.
Yeah, well, I think he's boxed at lightweight now long enough that look, the narrative that he's not a lightweight, I don't necessarily agree with now. I think he is a lightweight, but he's a small lightweight. He is a lightweight. Yeah, he's a lightweight. You fight a lightweight, he's a small. And I think now because he's been up there and he's put the weight on. Like you can see, look, he doesn't look small. He's more thick set now, 135. I think he probably would have trouble now making 130.
Yeah, he would know.
Yeah, he would have. He would have problems making 130. So he's a small lightweight, but a lightweight
Ram wasn't a welterweight, was he?
No, exactly.
Until he boxed a super middleweight, then he was a welterweight. no, you know what I mean? So you win at that win, you're successful, and then you go, that's your weight now, isn't it? Of course, and he's good enough, like all great fighters, to compete at weights when they shouldn't have. Canelo's not a super middleweight, but that's been his best weight. Because he is now super middleweight. But Lomachenko was brilliant. And the movement he does, not just the feet, which I love the feet about him. He steps on the outside, he spins around. He does that little thing I call with a P, and but he'll come the other side of the body with you. Like he skips around. Like I just don't know how he does it. Like you can imitate it, but you can never. But he's a worry, see, because kids are gonna get beat. I say this about Naz. When Naz was at his peak, at his highest high, I said we're going to get a whole generation, and Mayweather. I said the same about him. A generation of people get knocked out because they're all trying to copy him, and you can't copy some mavericks. And I think Lomachenko's another one. You can get little moves, and you go, "That's good, I'll do that." But if you try and do everything he does, you're going to get hurt because he'll step there and then spin around. But so you almost got to square himself on the other side of you. He does it, and you just like he's almost like he disappears and comes back this way, like like a magician's little wall. They go in a little box and they spin it around.
Cut Lomachenko in half.
Yeah. You got a little trapdoor in the ring, and pops up the other side. Oh, he does it. I don't know. But it's beautiful to watch. He's mesmerising to watch, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, look, Commey is a good fighter. I think Commey had some success. I think for me, where you see kind of where Lomachenko is still a small lightweight is when he gets hit. I still do feel like he does feel the weight of the shots a lot more at lightweight. Probably because it's super featherweight, nobody can fucking hit him.
But he showed But as a featherweight and super featherweight, he would all be pushing you back with the feet all the time because he didn't care about being close. And I thought as a lightweight, he hasn't quite done that. He's been a bit more, because he can box any way he wants to. That's the truth of it. Because he didn't have that physical presence, and when he made you miss, you didn't panic. Like as a featherweight, you make you miss and you counter, you panic. But as a lightweight, they didn't. No, yeah. And I thought that's what you say he's not a natural lightweight, because you haven't got that presence, and when he makes you miss, he makes you pay, but doesn't make you pay like he made you pay, made the featherweights pay. Yeah. But now he did. And that fight, he did. I felt that he felt more comfortable back closer to the target, slipping inside the shots, the elbow coming over his head, and then hitting you off that move. And
I think as well, he started his positioning on the inside as well. He gets himself into great positions. The shot that dropped Commey, as you mentioned, it was a very short shot. And the way that he threw the shot, he was in the perfect position, caught Commey with Andrew Rozier in the corner was saying to him, don't put your hands down. Don't put your hands down. He got on the rope, dropped his hands, bang, he was straight down. What I want to talk to you about is the 7th round.
Yeah.
Caught him with that shot, had him down. Rather than going in for the kill, pardon the expression, he ushered for the corner to step in. Thoughts?
He was right. They should have thrown the towel in, because his leg went one way. Yeah. He's going to get hurt. But the fact that I'm not massive against it, like people have said, he hasn't got that killer instinct. He doesn't need it. He's brilliant. I mean, you want to see it. That the whole thing of boxing, people want to see people get knocked out. I don't understand that. And because I'm not a puncher, I don't always go for you shouldn't hurt anyone. So that was my ethos, as I thought. But it still, that's not his thing. Usyk's the same way, isn't he? People said about, do you feel like you could have hurt Josh, could have got him out then? He said, I'm just here to beat him.
Yeah, but for me, I thought it was a bit different, because Usyk's was sort of the last 10-15 seconds of the fight where he'd had the fight in the bag. He did, and also for the other 2 minutes 45 seconds of the round, he was putting it on Joshua, and he was really hurt.
He was putting it on Commey, man, and he tried to put it on Commey. I think, but as well, he's not going to go gung. Lomachenko's never going to go bite on the gum shield and go for it unless he's losing a fight. I think he takes a decent shot. But
why step off? I can't, we've seen some of the stuff that's come around. I mean, we've seen some wild takes about it. Somebody said to me, you have to be a genius to understand what Lomachenko was thinking, which I think is absolute bollocks.
But empathy, maybe, that's all.
But
It might be it's arrogance.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's arrogance. And we actually spoke Andy Peruel. Shout out Andy Peruel.
Lomachenko.
Shout out Andy P, who spoke to Richard Commey after the fight, and he sort of said to him, "Look, what did you make of it? Him signalling to your corner to stop the fight." And Richard Commey, who's the nicest man in the world, an absolute gentleman and a real warrior, because he wasn't looking for a way out of that fight, no matter what happened. There was that moment where one of his feet went underneath him, and he was sagged against the ropes, but he was still he wanted to fight. And he said, "Look, I felt it was cocky. I wasn't hurt," which he was. I mean, every fighter will say they're not hurt, but he said that, come over and finish me. If I'm that badly hurt, come over and finish me. And I do think it is the arrogance. And look, you need that level of arrogance to achieve what Vasiliy Lomachenko has been able to achieve in his career. I don't buy that it was Lomachenko looking out for Richard Commey's best interest, because in the championship rounds in particular, he was sticking on him. He was trying to get rid of him. The 12th round, Commey was hanging on for dear life for the whole 3 minutes of the round, and Lomachenko was building and trying to get rid of him. I think Lomachenko wanted that kind of, he is finished. Come in, you do your job, you get rid of him. And then he allowed Commey back into the fight in the 8th round, allowed him to clear his head. And Commey's a big, tough, strong, natural difference between being a lightweight and a natural lightweight, big lightweight, and he'd recovered. And then after that, Lomachenko tried to dial it up, and he couldn't get rid of him after that. And Commey's a dangerous puncher. On the flip side of all of this is 27 knockouts and 30 wins Richard Commey's got. If he then goes and chins Lomachenko in the 11th round with a shot that he catches him from the gods, or whatever you want to call it, everybody who's then praising for Lomachenko for, he was showing mercy, he was doing this, he was doing that, would have said, well, you should have fucking stopped him when you had the chance in the 7th round.
I know it's like against it as you are, obviously, just realistic.
I guess somebody said to me, "It's like you clearly bet the stoppage." I actually bet Lomachenko to win by decision, but
which is a safe bet. If he does that all the time, but it cost him. He had to do an extra 5 rounds, didn't he, because of his arrogance? That's what happened, because he was stopping him. I felt him.
Yeah, and also, I think it was sort of, you only had to go over and just go. And then that would have been it.
Once you look at the corner, though, that corner might have had the toll to go like this.
In the 8th round, so in between the rounds, so if he would have gone, and Lomachenko didn't really do anything in the 8th round. It wasn't that he didn't jump on him. He didn't really throw any punches. If he would have gone out there, let his hands go in the first 30, 45 seconds, he's never going to go out there. He's not going to be Marcus Maidana and go and throw a million punches. But if he would have gone there, snapped the head back a couple more times, maybe hurt him. My ball in you, Barry. Suppressing a nice yawn there. But anyway, if he snapped the head back, I think the towel would have come in, or the referee would have jumped in.
What time's my train?
And I think the referee, Steve Willis, would have jumped in.
Yeah. No, saying that,
if it wasn't for Lomachenko signaling to the corner a couple of times,
because he was.
I think he potentially would have.
He was watching.
It was kind of like the referee was watching Lomachenko. Lomachenko was watching the corner, and Commey was going, just keep watching there. Just don't hit me again.
No, but that Steve Willis, he was watching those big eyes like that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was watching. What was that?
I don't know. Anyway,
he was watching Commey take a hammer in. I was thinking he got to step in.
Yeah, I was thinking he's surely going to stop
15
the fight.
unanswered punches after he'd be knocked back on the ropes and wobbled. And
but that's the thing. Like this kind of mercy shout of Lomachenko, it makes it seem like he just danced his way to the final bell after that. He didn't.
No, he didn't. Of course he did. But once you go to the corner, you're going to stop it, because the corner might have been stopping it, maybe. But once he says stop it, the corner they're not going to stop it now, because you've said, like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't tell me to do my job.
And that's what Commey sort of said afterwards. He said he felt it was cocky from Lomachenko. He said that he's a warrior, he wasn't hurt, and he wants to go out on a shield. He fights for God. He give a fantastic interview. Please go and watch it. But yeah, I wasn't. I mean, I thought Lomachenko boxed very well throughout, but I do think that detracted from the performance. But particularly when you've got,
I didn't.
I think so. When you've got Teofimo Lopez who's blown him out in 2 rounds. And you've got Lomachenko. He's there. It's not like he had him hurt and then he held it. He was done. There's a difference between being hurt and being that.
It didn't bother me like as much as it bothered you, clearly. But man, you should maybe do some. No, I was joking. I was going to say do some exercise.
I got to lie down on the couch.
Do some exercise. That's not going to happen, is it?
But,
you know what I mean? Like, boxing antisocial. But I just think that it's he boxed brilliant. He boxed brilliant. Forget about that. That's just like theatrics and all that crap. But he boxed superb. He's a joy to watch. I don't care if he's a nice man or not. I mean, that's why I don't like. I like to watch Angel Bruno fight, but once I found out he was an asshole, this doesn't go to America, do it? A real nice bloke who doesn't like to, who doesn't want to hurt me. But no, once I found
when he comes over, that's right. You don't get any work anyway. So
I don't care anyway. I wouldn't be here otherwise, would I? That's the truth. Let's be honest. The BT used to have a sofa. No, but when I found that he was a bit of a not very nice bloke, it didn't seem like on the outside, then I just wanted him to lose every time he boxed. Like, that's the truth. And then when he did fight and did win, I wasn't enjoying the performance, and because I don't want to get to know the fighter. Like, I love Josh Taylor. I mean, I've been on board for Josh Taylor longer than most people, to be honest, who don't know him. That's the truth, right? And he knows this. But I don't know him that well. I don't know him at all. He might be an asshole. He might be a lovely kid. The few interactions I've had with him, he's been nice. But no, he's not nice building up to a fight. But he might be like that all the time. People just say that. That might just be him 24/7. I don't know. But I don't want to get to know him, because if he turns out to be an idiot, then I'll be gutted, and then I won't. The guy, like, I'm his greatest fan, in the media type section, whatever I do when I do work, and part time, and then I won't be a fan anymore. That's just how it is. Like, so I almost don't like to get to know him. So with Lomachenko, I don't care about that. I don't. He was brilliant, and he's an absolute genius. And whether he's the best lightweight, you probably think he is. I'd say Davis would beat him the other week, but he looks stronger now, and that makes it harder. I still think Davis has the best chance, though.
Yeah, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, don't misconstrue what I'm saying with me not being. I thought it was a very, very good performance overall, but Barry. I thought it was a very good performance overall. I just felt like the opportunity was there for him to get rid of Commey, make a bit of a statement to the rest of the division. I don't think that that's necessarily what we needed to see from Lomachenko. Whatever his reasons were for it, I feel like the stoppage was there in the 7th and 8th round, and he missed the opportunity and he went the distance.
Well, maybe he thinks he's making a statement himself by going, I could have stopped him. I don't need to stop anyway. I'll do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Yeah, which is kind of...
But he never, though, because he couldn't get rid of him after.
Well, this is the thing. Like, if that's your rationale, then what were you doing in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th rounds when you were punching his head in? So that's kind of where I am with it. But yeah, no, an excellent performance overall. And
I don't think him or Usyk, in that fact, I don't think they ever care about whether they win on points or stoppage. I know a lot of fighters like me, us three, me, Lomachenko, right, and Usyk. We're all from the same mold, pretty much. But no, I generally don't think that they cared.
Yeah,
I didn't care.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm sure Lomachenko doesn't give a shit.
No, but a lot of fighters do.
Yeah,
like a Joshua might be disappointed he didn't stop somebody when he could have, or other fighters certainly are disappointed when they don't stop other people. I could knock them out and they're angry, but I don't think they care. Like, them going 12 rounds or 7 rounds or 6 rounds, I think it's irrelevant to him.
Yeah, and also
that's an arrogance in itself, by the way.
And he's now in a position now where the WBO are looking like, well, he will be the mandatory for the WBO title. We'll come on to this shortly, whether we get Kambosos Haney, Kambosos Davis, Kambosos whoever. The WBO will eventually order Lomachenko, and Mr. Arum and the WBO, they do great business together. That will be enforced. Whether it's, I don't think it'll be enforced. Me personally, I would hope that the whatever you want to call it, the undisputed fight, Kambosos versus Devin Haney, I would hope that happens first, and then afterwards the WBO order Lomachenko, or the IBF order whoever.
Can I say a side note, which is sort of related to this? Sullivan just come out and said, what the franchise title has done for it's done a good thing.
Yeah, the actual I saw that it came out on Boxing Scene. Jake Donovan wrote that. Jake Donovan, excellent.
I loved you in Neighbours. Is that the same fella?
No, Barry.
I know it's not. I'm joking.
There's gonna be people who could be watching this and going, "What is Barry talking?" Anyway, I don't necessarily agree with that. I've been trying to catch up with Mauricio a little bit actually lately, on particularly the lightweight division, because also like the inconsistencies with the franchise stuff is plain and obvious for everybody to see. Just check out the interviews I've done with Mauricio over the last probably 3 years about the franchise title. It's supposed to be making the biggest fights in boxing. I can't think of many fights that have been made because of the franchise title. I know he said about Teofimo Lopez versus Vasiliy Lomachenko was made because of the franchise title. He could have made that anyway, but whatever. But anyway, I don't really see how it's resulted.
Because Lopez really should be, and not he's a good fighter, but he should have been. He should have been another year, because that's a massive milestone in the kid's career.
But the problem with it is that Mauricio will still refer to George Kambosos as the undisputed champion and Devin Haney as the WBC champion.
But we don't, though. We can't, can we? It's like the WBA stuff. It's like all the WBA champions, like about Rocky Fielding. I think he's a world champion. But do you think he's a world champion? Because Callum Smith had the same title, the same division, the same organisation.
The difference for me with it is because Lomachenko actually...
Nathan Cleverly was Wales' first 2-weight world champion.
Yeah, but he won a regular belt.
And then people say he's not,
But Lomachenko, whatever the reason for it was, which was obviously top rank, trying to make a Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez undisputed fight, but not really. Whatever your reasoning behind it, there is a dispute. You are not undisputed because somebody is disputing it.
Right. It makes all those words make sense now.
It's true, isn't it? You've got Devin Haney who's got a belt, so he is disputing it. The WBC are disputing their own undisputed title. It makes no sense. Also, Mauricio said to me that you could only be elected or given the distinction of a franchise champion, but you had to lobby for it, and then I asked him. I remember saying, well, how come Teofimo Lopez has been accepted as an applicant or whatever you want to call it for the franchise title? Teofimo Lopez at the time not really done anything. He beat Richard Commey, but other than that, Mauricio told me it was reserved for the superstars of the sport, and you don't want to hold back the greatest fights and this, that, and the other. Now George Kambosos is franchise champion.
If he truly believes,
it's basically the super title, isn't it? It's the WBA super title under different guys.
If they all get together and go, we don't want to hold them to the super fight, so we're going to get more belts. If they truly believe that, and they truly if they really want that, then the only way to truly stop the block on super fights is to have no more titles.
Or you order people...
Design all your companies.
Or you order fighters to fight somebody. Like the way that they should do it is you order somebody to fight somebody, you're mandatory challenger, and if you don't want to fight them, you vacate the title. Because the rest of the sport's anarchy otherwise.
I said the other day about TV companies who actually, who should be running the sport because they pay.
They do, in a roundabout way, do run the sport.
But not enough. Why isn't like the Zone saying to whoever Haney and Garcia or the other fella?
That's the fight, the Haney Garcia fight, because the WBC even ordered that.
Forget about WBC.
WBC ordered it, and they're both on the same network, and apparently the network were trying to make the fight, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, but forget about the titles. They should be going up to their respective opponents and saying, "This is the fight we want next. That's what we're paying for. Otherwise, we're not paying for anything at all. We'll show. We got the Women's Champions League. We'll show that instead of your fight." Instead, there's got to be things in the contract where they can all get out of everything, and there's always a gap. That's the fight we won. I don't know, if you're doing the same network, I'm not digging out the Zone or Matchroom or anyone, by the way, but and that's the fight they should make. BT should be doing it for some of their fights. They shouldn't be like, oh, we had hard getting this fight together, and the fighters. This is the money that's in the pot. You fight for that, or don't fight at all. Now promoters can't say that because they don't want to lose you. No, but the TV companies can afford to go. They can't afford to do it with the huge fighters. I understand that, but all the others, this is the fight. This is the money. It's good money, better money you've earned before. It's not what you think you can get though. I just don't. They could take control more than anything. They should. TV companies should get their own promoters license and do it that way. Why not?
Yeah. What do you want to see next for? Okay, what's your fights at lightweight? We've seen all of the lightweights. In the last... Okay, first question, actually.
Davis and Lomo.
Yeah. And how is that ever going to happen?
It's not going to happen. Lomo, if anything, is in the worst place he could possibly be.
Expand on that. What do you mean?
Well, who does he fight?
What, top rank? Well, the WBO ordered the WBO mandatory, and he either fights Kambosos for the WBO, or for all the belts, or Kambosos vacates the WBO and he fights whoever.
No, he's a free agent, though.
He's a free agent, yeah. I think he's going to sign with Matchroom.
Yes, I think he is as well. So that's what I mean so that fight don't happen.
I think, they go... For me, Kambosos, Haney, whatever you think about it, look, I completely understand people say, well, we don't care about that. We know Kambosos is the man. Yes, he is the man. He's the man who beat the man, blah, 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 blah. But clear up that shit with the WBC titles. Yeah. Fight Devin Haney. Devin Haney is one of the few American talents who can box in Australia, where DAZN are making a big play. And he's not sacrificing US pay-per-view money because he's not boxing on Showtime pay-per-view in the US. Get him over, box Kambosos. If he wins, great. If not, whatever. And then after that,
By the way, Devin Haney's a really good fighter.
Yeah. Well, they're all really good fighters. But the problem is we need them to fight each other.
But you tend to think that there's an in-house little thing there with Lopez. Where's he?
Well, he's at 140 and he's a top
Yeah,
rank. I don't really consider him part of the 135 picture anymore personally.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't see him boxing there at 135 ever again.
So what I mean is, you got like there's a round robin there a little bit for DAZN to sort out. And Lomachenko got
well, he
takes a vacant title and walks around somewhere. That's not
either takes a vacant title, or you never know. Kambosos is in a driving seat. He doesn't need to go exclusive. He can do a deal. He can fight independent of it. Who do you fancy in that fight, by the way? Kambosos, Haney.
I do. I'm one of those with Kambosos. I didn't see it any way that he could beat Lopez. Anyway, no, did anyone really?
No,
I don't know.
No.
But he did, and he genuinely did, and he was fantastic. And I don't know whatever excuses Lopez got. It is what it is. On the night, he was fantastic, and he showed he's a tougher man to beat than what he looked at. But he only and I thought he beat Lee Selby, by the way. I know Lee Selby thinks he got robbed, and a lot of people thought Selby won. I thought Kambosos won.
I thought Kambosos won,
but
pretty clear. But
I don't think it was pretty clear. Actually,
it was 8-4, sort of 9-3ish.
Yeah, but you're massively against the Welsh people.
I'm massively anti-Welsh because I have to listen to Barry Jones all the time about my.
So it's taken me an hour before I banged. Hour and a half before I banged the microphone, but I've done it. But but what I mean is, so like I think that Haney can outbox him. I really think he can really outbox him. He won't try and engage. I don't think.
He got hit a lot against Jojo Diaz though. Jojo Diaz is not a natural lightweight.
No, he's good, fast,
but much smaller. Kambosos is a proper lightweight.
I think Haney went that fight full of arrogance that he was gonna, because he's boxing a smaller guy and all this. I don't know. I don't think Haney's the god they're talking about. I think they got Haney and Demetrius Andrade and they sell them like no one wants to fight them because they're so brilliant. And I don't see that, but they are clever and good. And I think Haney at his best, I think will have too much movement and ability for Kambosos. That's what I feel.
I felt like against Diaz though, we saw Haney slow down quite a lot. I think he's too big for the weight now. I think the only fight that he stays at 135-4 is the Kambosos fight. If that fight doesn't get made, and it looks as though it will, certainly the noises that we're hearing, barring kind of WBO getting in the way, or if you can get a massive offer to box Gervonta Davis on Showtime pay-per-view, then that's the one potentially to go for. It's a strange one with Davis because he's got all the talent in the world, he's got the money behind him, he doesn't really seem that arsed about the belts. More power to him, but
so if he's getting paid good, I don't know what he's getting paid, but if he's getting paid good money, and fighters always harp on about where they come from, but where he come from, you know what Baltimore like, you know better than most. You're from Baltimore, you pretty much. You've watched The Wire so many times. You know what I mean? And the game's a game, mate.
It certainly is. They say that Bedford is the Baltimore of the United Kingdom. That's what I say.
Bedford.
Bedford.
but I just think that that he isn't. He's just like, I'm having it right off here. Like, to be honest, boxing good fighters, but no one elite.
What did you think? Because we didn't have you on the lightweight one the other day. You were replaced by a real world champion, Anthony Crolla. Is
he real though? That's another one.
Let's go down.
Actually,
all right, so if we go back to that, so if we went back to somebody said that to me earlier, because I said to her, I was like, Davis has got, and it was one of those where it was because the Davis fight was the night before, so I didn't go to bed till like 8 o'clock in the morning, and we had to be in here for like 11 or 12, something like that. So I was a bit sleepy, and I sort of said that he's had the WBA whatever title, and then somebody replied to me later on Twitter and said, "Oh, Anthony Crolla, you should have chinned him. He was taking the piss out of your title," and blah 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 blah. If you actually remember, there was no super champion when Anthony Crolla won that title, and he was elevated. So anyway,
it's all right. You're delusional, right? If it's more, even in my era, but certainly in this last 15 years, if you can be honest about the title you've won being...
I mean, you're great with it, like, not in a...
But it is what it is. I'm a world champion till the day I die. That's all it is. It's not my fault. But, just be realistic about stuff. Come on. All of us.
Sorry to interrupt. The one question that I wanted to ask you that we've kind of glossed past now. When you boxed Vasiliy Freitas, if when he knocked you down, he looked over at your corner and said, "Stop the fight, look at him," how would you have felt? What would have gone through your mind? I would have saved you a few more knockdowns afterwards, but still.
First thing I would have said was, I was going to say that. I was a wanker.
Yeah, would you not?
Well, I would have done what I did. I would have got up. I would have got up and knocked him out. Only if he would have. No, that wouldn't have bothered me, but I would look back and thought, what a prick. To be honest, like, you know, just fucking telling them what to do, and they wouldn't have done it. Well, obviously clearly they wouldn't have done it. I got knocked on 6 times for the. I don't think through the towel. I think he dropped it. Then my dad got really bad hay fever. I think and the towel like that, and he was trying to get it back in. I think my father had a bet on me getting stopped in the 9th. Always overestimate my ability. But yeah, I wouldn't have liked it. You wouldn't have liked it. Of course, no, you wouldn't have liked that at all. And then after the fight, I wouldn't have wanted to speak to him. I had so much respect for that man. No, you just literally, put me to bed.
Yeah.
So you got and I didn't fall in love with him. But I was like, oh, listen, mate, and he had respect for me because he had to beat me up to finish me, and he did. He didn't have to beat me up. But he still did beat me up. But actually, he's a wanker, isn't he?
Yeah, but you would much.
He didn't have to beat me up at all. But why did he?
But in all seriousness, you would have
I would
rather.
rather do a Lomachenko on me, yeah, and take it easy for a couple of rounds, and go the distance.
But you would, in all seriousness, you wouldn't have.
You want to be in a fight,
Yeah.
right? And if the guy can't punch like me and he boxes, you want him to outbox you to beat you, right? And if the guy can punch and can't box, you want him to beat you up to beat you. And it all sounds macho crap and all the rest of it. That's what it is. Like all going to your shield crap. No one wants to get beat. We all want to win. We all want to win the rest of our careers. But if you get beat, you want to get beat. Doing the best you can. You don't want to go back. I could have this, could have done that. You can do that for everything, but ultimately you just go. I did my best for that particular time. What I could do. You can always do better, possibly, if everything's perfect. But you did my best what you can do at that time, and that's all it is. And that's what Commey wants. You don't want the guy making his corner throw the towel in. He wants Lomachenko to beat him up until he can't get off the floor.
And if the towel comes in from the corner, then it comes in. But he doesn't want it.
And you don't.
You wouldn't want that. But if it comes in, and
you're not happy
your
with
own,
that. I want
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like I wasn't thanking my dad straight away with that. My demeanour on ringside was like, I tried my best, but I got to train you, and I was fucking angry and upset. I didn't say anything to him because I know my dad. He loves me. My trainer he loves me as well. And everyone loves me. And they thought it was right, and that's their job, and I leave it to them. But I'm fucking gutted, and I'm pissed off, and I'm crying in a corner because I've lost everything, and I don't want to talk to you because you
were part of it.
You sped that process up.
Yeah.
I had 4 more wrongs to get beat up on. That's what I'm thinking. That's 5 more. I can't even count. I got it to add.
Yeah.
But and that's what I'm thinking. Like I'll keep going till I go in. I'm not a tough hard guy, by the way. No, there's truth be known. It's just 'cause you didn't know. And that's what we all sort of think, and that's what you should think. But then people are there. That's why people are there to save you. The referee's there to save you, supposedly, and the corner's there to save you. And that's why people criticise referees for doing their job. No, stop that too early, or stopped it too late. It's a hard thing to get it right. You know what I mean? It's hard to get it right. The difference with mine is that because my rib was hanging out, most of mine were body shots. The headshots, which some of the headshots I didn't go down from, were harder than the shots I did go down from. My head was like this. But if my eyes are all over the place, then he's going to stop it. But I'm getting down, I'm taking the knee, I'm taking the 8, and I'm getting up. Is you okay? I'm okay. I'm not okay. But I'm not. No, he's not. He looks like he's okay. You gotta give maybe opportunity, haven't you? It's a world title fight. This is your life, by the way. This is everything you gear up for. So for Commey, this is his world right now. Nothing else matters. All it's like I'm fighting for my family. I'm fighting for this. When you're in the ring, all that's a narrative, and that's all sort of true. But for those 36 minutes, if you can last 36 minutes, I can't. But 36 minutes, it's all about you. You're the most selfish person on the planet. It's all for you. Your care, your ability, your life, your accolades. You. And if it's anything, and any boxer tells you any difference, it's full of shit. That's the truth. And then afterwards, it's all about everything else. And you're not even to enjoy it, and your family, you pay the bills, and buy a big house, all that crap. Send your kids to private school, or they can or buy your kids shoes, whatever, depending on what you're earning and what your situation is. But when you're in the ring, you're self-absorbed about yourself. And if you're not, you're a fucking idiot. Because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about me.
No, but it was a question that I did want to ask, particularly obviously being in a similar situation. We didn't have you on that podcast, so I want to know now, and it's a better way to ask you about it now because we've seen Lomachenko box. What's your top 5? Lopez is out of the picture. So
Lopez out of the picture.
Yeah, Lopez out of the picture.
So I had David the week, and seeing how strong Loma was, he's my one.
Okay.
Still, back again. You're back again.
Okay. All right. Before we keep going, are we doing this on round robin?
If they all buy,
okay.
Yeah, who would?
Okay.
It's funny because
It's fair to say that Kambosos is the man because he's got the belts. He beat the man. He beat the man. He beat the man.
Last night I beat. Last night I on Sky Sports Arena. Like I think they might have the top ranked back catalogue. If they have,
you were tweeting.
That's the best thing they ever did in their life if they got that. So they had Leonard and Duran won. Oh, one of the best fights ever. Unbelievable. Even though my hero lost, it's still one of the best fights ever. And then they had Hagler and Hearns straight after. It was literally I can't remember the last time I had a hard for so long. Maybe never. It was unbelievable. I was exhausted. I was saying I need a cigarette. Like I don't even smoke. And it was just absolutely fantastic. But there, like Leonard was my number one. He was my best. I thought he was the best because he beat most of them, and and he never lost. No, he lost against Duran, but he beat everyone who he came up against. So he was my best, and I think he's still the best for me. And I think Lomo, even though he got beat by Lopez is older. I think the best of Lomo beats the best of all of them.
Okay, so there's your one, Lomachenko. 2,
Davis. Only because I think he gives Lomachenko the hardest fight. That's why.
3,
Haney. Because I think Haney beats Kambosos, so I have to say Haney, don't I?
Kambosos 4.
It's crazy, isn't it? Kambosos beat the man. But I still think that Haney beats Kambosos. I'm not convinced on that. And except for Lomachenko being the one, no. I think, either one of those other three could beat each other. I think Davis is audible. Like, I think you can't underestimate how tough, how hard he hits, and how ferocious he is.
We haven't spoken about the Cruz fight.
I think Davis Kambosos is a great fight.
Yeah, I think Kambosos is a little too easy to hit for Davis.
But it's the best fight. That's the best fight to make.
Davis Kambosos.
The best fight to watch.
Yeah, I think the fight that I would most like to see is Davis versus Lomachenko. That's the fight I would most like to see.
Yeah. But I think the most exciting fight is Davis Kambosos.
Yeah, potentially.
Because you can hit Kambosos, but he takes a shot.
Yeah, I mean, he
fires back.
Lopez.
And he fires back. And so I think that's a real war.
Kambosos at 4, and I'm guessing 5. Do we have a 5? Ryan Garcia? I know he's not boxed since January the 2nd, but
exactly, yeah. See, I didn't think Garcia would beat Campbell. He did beat him, because he just a weird kid. He must hit really hard, Ryan Garcia, because like his legs, he don't bend his legs.
No, he's still very upright.
Weird.
Yeah, and even when he moved to Reynoso, and Reynoso's obviously all about bending at the waist, and
you got to get power from your legs. Yeah. You got to push. You got some natural power.
It's like whippy power, isn't he?
Yeah, but it's weird though. You don't bend. How do you get power? You don't bend your legs. Just all up an arm strength. It's just weird, man. It's just weird. No, he turns from the hips, so he generates the speed and all the rest of it. But you got to bend your legs. I never bent my legs. That's why I know not to do it. But like you got to bend your legs with the push off the back foot. You see a lot of punches have big legs and big backs. That's where all the power comes from. But he just has none of that. But just generates power, so it's natural.
We didn't. I haven't spoke to you about Davis versus Cruz. What did you make of his performance?
I enjoyed it.
I thought Isaac Cruz boxed really well.
He's good. He's a good fighter.
Only 23 years old.
I know.
I was sort of saying like Pitbull. What a perfect nickname for him.
Yeah,
thick neck, back. He's built to take a shot, isn't he? But to take a big shot.
I think that fight does one or two things for him. Makes him just massively avoided because like he just disappear. He's not a big name. Who wants to fight him now? Because look how tough he is. Or they want to make a statement and do a better job than Davis. So it gives him one or two. He's a kid who's going to have to beat everyone to get another opportunity.
Potentially, yeah. But if you're PBC, he had an upset win on a Showbox card about 18 months ago, right at the very start of the pandemic. And they've kind of looked to build him into an opponent for Davis. Yeah, and I think now they've looked at it and gone, oh, actually...
Yeah, but maybe, but I don't know whether they thought that. Or no, they put him there for the lamb to the slaughter. They thought Dave was going to wipe him out.
Yeah, and you could see why stylistically. Like we all thought he would. Even in the first round, he kind of came out and he was leaning over the front foot, and it was all kind of a little bit wild. And you just thought, eventually you're gonna. And he might have. I do. I think Davis did have a hand injury. He didn't throw the left hand for the last 3 or 4 rounds.
No, it wasn't vintage Davis, but I think he still did nothing.
And he showed a lot in the fight. He's still nice and relaxed in there. I think he's become. He's sort of an experienced 27. He's another one with that presence in the ring, and he's another one who looks entirely at home in the ring.
When your reputation, like people like Lomachenko, him. No, your reputation precedes you. So most people now go into the ring expecting something of you. So they're already...
not beaten, but it's already influencing and
already over aware of what you can do.
Yeah.
So like, oh, watch out for this, watch out for this, watch out for that. But they're not going in thinking, right, this is what I got to do, and then reacting on what you actually do. They react on what they think you can do, because you have a reputation already in front of you. I've seen kids win British schoolboy titles, and it goes off the thing, been as amateurs on reputation alone, and they haven't really boxed that well. Just they've made the people in there before by it's called bottling. They bottled it because their reputation. They've been expecting something, and they've gone in there half-heartedly and a little bit cowering in anticipation of what's coming when it hasn't come.
It's an interesting one. Like, we've seen all of the lightweights in the last 3 weeks, really, apart from Ryan Garcia, we've not seen since January. I think they've all, in their own way, boxed pretty well. Like, Twitter is such a fucking cesspit of, like, I've tweeted the other day, I thought Lomachenko boxed well. I thought Davis boxed well. I thought Haney boxed well. You can't say, oh, well... But also, I think all of them in their own way, probably lesser so of Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko had the best all-round performance out of all of them. Yeah. Even my disgust at him not pushing for the stoppage, as we've already discussed. But I think he probably had the best performance, and against probably the best opponent as well. I think but Jojo Diaz and Richard Commey, I don't think there's an awful lot between him, but Commey being a natural lightweight. I think Lomachenko probably had the best all-round performance. So I think, like, for me...
Put Commey in with Pitbull.
Commey Pitbull, Commey Jojo Diaz, Commey Linares, obviously, like, ignoring all of the politics. I mean, none of those fights will ever happen. But I think there's an awful lot of good fights to make in kind of the top 8. William Zepeda's another guy who can really fight, can really punch. He's going to be in some really fun fights. But yeah, it's sort of like, you can't... I felt like Haney got hit a little bit too much against Diaz. And everyone's like, well, what about Gervonta Davis against Diaz? Look, I'm not fucking talking about that. Oh, well, okay, well, yeah, Davis, I think, he got hit in the early rounds and he maybe could have forced a stoppage. Well, what about Haney? Or, you know what I mean? It's like the lightweight division at the minute is fucking insufferable to talk about. It's horrendous. But anyway, for me, I think probably I'd give... Kambosos is the man. Again, there's almost 2 rankings where it's like, okay, what have you done? What have you achieved? Who have you beat? Blah, blah, blah. And then the eye test or who you think will beat each other, really. I think...
Well, if you're doing like the ring ratings without Dav Kambosos number 1.
That's a good way of... That's a good way of...
You'd have to, isn't it? Because whatever you think who can beat who, he's
actually done it.
He just beat the guy who was clearly number 1, just beat the guy who was clearly number 1 before that. So you have to put number 1. But I still think that Lomachenko would come out on top.
I think I would bet... I would
love a theoretical list, you know that.
Yeah, I would back Lomachenko and Davis against everybody else.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then I think that fight is on a knife edge. But I think, gun to my head, I think Davis would get to him. I do think he would get to him. Yeah,
nice. I like that.
I think, but I'd have them 1A and 1B. I think, but that's the fight. That is the fight in the division, which sounds horrible to say about the guys who actually have the belts. I would still much rather see. I'd want to see Kambosos versus Haney. Because also, I don't think Kambosos should win the fight away from home as such a massive underdog and then get a mandatory thrown at him straight away. Yeah. Like, if he wants to box Haney, undisputed title, there's no politics that holds that up, no network politics. Let them have that fight.
Kambosos is really sellable fight as well.
Yeah, I was saying this earlier, like, look, Canelo's probably going to win Fighter of the Year. He's become undisputed. But the way Kambosos approached the fight the whole week, he was brilliant. The whole stuff in the gym between his dad and Teofimo Lopez's dad was brilliant. They handled it well. He said,
I think Teofimo Lopez's dad bottled it.
He did bottle it massively. He went over and he said, "Oh, did you see that? He tried to hit me." And it's like, "Whoa, hang on, mate. You went over to him."
Is he a big man? Kambosos, he looks big.
He looks pretty big.
To me, so.
But the way like Kambosos, even then they spoke to him after he did an interview and he said, "Look, I went in there. I said to our guys, look, they're going to come in there. If they start something, we all back it." And it was like, okay, well, fair enough, mate. And then you see him in the ring taking these big bombs. He comes straight back at him after the fight. His interview, even when Lopez, look, it was really sad for me. Like, I didn't like. Lopez came over and there was that split second where Kambosos went to give him a hug and embrace after such a brilliant fight. And then Lopez grabbed the mic. Yeah, he grabbed the mic and I won 11-2. And blah, 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 blah.
What happens there is like...
We got to get on with it because we've got to talk about Parker-Chisora too.
But
yeah, I know, the heavyweight. So you love a heavyweight discussion anyway. But for me, Kambosos low-key has become my fighter of the year.
Lightweights are brilliant.
Yeah, lightweights are brilliant.
Stay tuned for the more lightweight discussion next month. But like, I knew we talked about Parker-Chisora. I thought I better watch the first fight again. And then I went, no, I'm not watching that again.
See, I'm in the
an anticipated rematch.
I'm in a minority who actually quite enjoyed the first fight.
This second fight is going to be brilliant. Do you know why?
Why?
Because no one wanted to see
Yeah,
Fury Wilder 3.
I knew you were going to say
It was
that.
brilliant. No one wanted to see. What was the other
I
rematch?
thought the
No
first
one wanted
fight
to
was
see
decent.
Arthur Yard.
No.
That Arthur Yard first was a stinker.
Yeah.
No one wanted to see Arthur Yard 2.
And it
I'm
was
glad we saw it.
electric second
So
fight.
if it's going to go in that ilk, then this is going to be a war.
I don't really understand what. Look, I've said this
It
before.
wasn't that bad of a fight.
No, but I said this before. Look, I would have been able to get on with my life just fine if I'd have never seen the rematch. It wouldn't have kept me up late at night. It wouldn't have been something I'd be clamouring for. But I thought the fight was good. Chisora walked over, knocked him down in the first round, won the first 4 rounds. Then Parker come back into the fight, sort of close fight.
I don't think it's.
I think if you take it for what it is, which is
it wasn't close.
a second tier heavyweight fight, in my opinion. It is, isn't it? It's not Usyk, Fury, Joshua.
It wasn't close
even
enough to
White.
one of them. It's not a demanded rematch because like I know Chisora thinks he got robbed, but he said he got robbed against Usyk, so you know his judgment's awful. But
Yeah, I'll tell him that.
Tell him. I just don't tell him, right? Because like I need the money, and he would hit me. You know, he would slap me. He wouldn't care. I'm a midget. He'd go whack. I need the money, Derek. Hit me so I can sue you. No, but I mean, like, I don't think he didn't get robbed. Like,
It was a close fight.
it was a close-ish fight. I thought Parker didn't enough to win.
I thought Parker nicked it.
So you know, but he won it. Like he won a close fight. So and all of a sudden it's a robbery. And it's not. He won a close fight. Just because the thing is nowadays, because you knocked him down, or you're the A side commercially, then if you don't get battered, then you know then it's a robbery. Listen, Chisora, you can't fault Chisora because he's reinvented himself like a million times, and he's doing more now in the stage of his career where he almost shouldn't be boxing anymore.
Yeah.
And so you know he's done fantastic. You can't fault him one iota. But you know and he can potentially win. I always say with Chisora, like you know he gotta get slower.
I think he's slowing down.
Everything you can read everything he does. You know, but I think he's training better than he used to. That just seems, I don't know if that's true.
It certainly was with Hay. I mean, but again, it's sort of what I heard. So for the Chisora White rematch, there was all these rumours going on before. Do you remember? There was rumours with a fight week where David Hay had gone to Jamaica and he was like, "Right, fuck that! I can't be doing with this anymore. I'm going to Jamaica." And then he turned up on fight week because he realised he had to go and get his manager's percentage. But yeah, I think like, he was. I think Chisora, by all accounts, he was obviously training at a London Shoot Fighters gym and doing a lot of work there. And obviously David Hay kind of famed for his S&C, Ruben Tabarez and those guys got him into. I mean, you see Chisora in unbelievable shape. Very unbelievable shape. And then
Say it again.
unbelievable. I don't believe it.
Exaggerate the point that I'm making.
But anyway, now I just feel like he's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, well,
I spoke to Fabio Wardley like, on Twitter Space. Twitter Space is the future. We're going to get rid of this, I think, because it's too expensive. Just do Twitter Spaces. It's so free. And he said that he felt like he's just slowing down. And I feel like Parker will learn more from the first fight than Chisora will.
Yeah,
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. But the only thing about Parker is, I just like, I don't know. He needs a fire lit under him. Like it's just something lacking, something massive lacking in him. Like he's technically okay, not great, but okay. He takes a good shot. He's heavy-handed-ish. No, for a heavyweight, they're all heavy-handed, of course. But it just doesn't seem like there's any urgency to him. What he want? No, do it like.
That's what Andy Lee was saying after the first fight. He said to him that it's like he was there, and he was there. Chisora was hurt a couple of times in the second half of that fight. He was hurt in the last round, and Parker just couldn't quite get that. And it's something that we've spoken about with Parker and Kevin Barry, obviously his former trainer, right back to the Dillian White fight, where Dillian White was just a bit too. I think they referred to it as he was like a junkyard dog, Dillian White, and he just was just too mean for him. He roughed him up. He stuck the head in. Well, that's that head clash.
There's no street in Parker, I guess, for the want of a better word.
Yeah.
There's no street
dog.
Like,
that dog.
Yeah. There's no like, oh, I like that. Or
But I think
he is a tough kid, but it's just like I can take it.
That streak, that nasty streak, and that's something that Andy Lee has spoken about. Obviously, Kronk style is kind of like the vogue term of the last 18 months. You know, you got to sit down on his punches and them Kronk style. That's sort of like the big thing of the last 18 months, 2 years in boxing, particularly in the heavyweights. And I feel like an extra, however long it's been. When was the first fight? Whenever the first fight was. However long it's been since then. I think Andy Lee had only been working with him for about 6 weeks before then. I do feel like that style would have... Look, Chisora's going to come and he's going to do what he does for the first 4 or 5 rounds and he's going to slow down. I don't think we're not going to see Chisora come out and try and throw the jab and slip and slide and stuff like that. He's reinvented himself a few times. We're yet to see, you know, Jersey Joe, Walcott, Chisora like, popping out there. But yeah, I do feel like... I think Parker might stop him in the second half of the fight.
If he can do the... in Kronk fashion, a solid jab, that I think with Chisora, you got to deter him from just bowling forward. He takes a shot, Chisora, and he's happy to take it to throw, but he throws that looping overhand right or that big long left hook. So you keep that right hand to your chin. You step behind the jab. You turn your left foot in a little bit, like Tommy Hearns used to do. So your foot's like this. You turn in this way when you throw the jab. So you put your weight into the shot. Make it a solid shot. Even when you're going back, just use that jab as a ramrod left hand. It's not even a jab. It's a ramrod left hand, and let Chisora walk onto that all the time. That big heavy, he'll stop walking for. He'll keep walking forward, but the intensity in his work or the ambition in the way he comes forward, so he knows what to do. That's where he'll come forward. That's all he can do. But that will stop him if you can do that. And then once he slows down, then you start letting that right hand go with conviction. I mean, commit to it. And Klitschko type commit to it. Don't lean over the top to get a little bit more extra weight and turn from. Don't give away the space. Don't give away the distance. So you turn. You throw your right hip and your right shoulder forward. Almost keep very rigid and squared almost. So so you want to keep it nice and long and keep him at bay all the time. But you got to soften him up with a solid left jab, and that's what you have to do. So you have to make it a little bit boring in the early rounds, but slow him down with that left jab. Because he'll be full of fire, Chisora, but he'll wane. He'll wane. You make him chase you, he'll wane. No, you haven't got to dance around to make him miss. You haven't got you just make him walk onto a heavy jab. Taking punches is a killer. I mean, I hate saying that word, but it drains your energy. Yeah. Walking into heavy shots drains your energy. It absolutely just makes you flat.
Back with Dave Coldwell for this fight. Obviously had Buddy McGirt for the last fight. Do you think it matters at all, or is at the stage of his career now where...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. They're all good trainers and all right for what they do, but I'm also the thing where where you're comfortable. You're as good as you're good. Listen, no one's been able to... he'll do what he wants to do. Ultimately, I think he does what he wants to do, Chisora. I think he's untrainable actually, because you've had good trainers over the years. Don Charles had them for a long time Don Charles is a good trainer, he knows his boxing. He's an intelligent man. He couldn't get him to throw a proper right hand. He still to this day slaps with that right hand. He hits you with the inside of the glove, and it's heavy. But if you turn that hand over,
he's turned it over once in his career, and he knocked out Carlos Taker.
But if he did, I was saying this back in box station days early on when he wasn't boxing anybody. He keeps slapping that right hand. If he just turns that over and hits him with the knuckles, he's knocking everyone out. He's the most dangerous. At that time, he's one of the most dangerous fighters on the planet. Then he's a test for anyone. I think he's too late now for him, but I think back then, young, fresh, strong, takes a shot, walks through you, but throws a proper big looping right down, which is a great shot when you for a relatively short heavyweight, which he is. And that's a great shot. It's a perfect shot, but he hits him with it, but he cuffs him, and fighters who have no ambition fall over. And other fighters are not comfortable with it, but they can take it and absorb it, because it's just a heavy shot that hurts you, but you need to make him feel the full weight and snap of it by turning over. And you want that move, you want that. No, it's a different move, it's a different sound and different feel. Yeah, but so the fact that no one who's coached him can get him to do that consistently shows me that he's untrainable. So you just got to get him fit. Get him fit and go on, Derek. Do your thing, mate. Good luck.
And also the kind of style that you would want again. I mean, obviously we saw Anthony Joshua kind of outbox Parker at range, and the referee kind of put pay to winning inside work in that fight. But the way to beat Joseph Parker is what we saw against in the Dillian White fight. Be rough, be aggressive. That's where Chisora had his success anyway. So it is kind of a case of wind him up and let him go. Question: who wins the fight and where do they go?
Parker wins it.
How?
Points.
I think it'd be
points. I think Chisora will think Chisora got to start fast and go for it. I think you got to just gamble and then. But I think he does that and then just tires out, keeps coming forward. Parker doesn't have that real fire in his belly to get him out to there. I don't think, unless he shows something different. And then he wins, puts himself in the mix, but never gets another world title shot.
Maybe boxes Joe Joyce next. Parker versus Joyce.
Yeah, that's a good fight there. Well done. That's a really good fight. You've had a few little good golden nuggets, sir.
Thanks very much, Barry.
Today. Nice, isn't it?
Right. Okay. One fight that I want to talk about because we're not very long left at all, so we have to get out of it before that hits 0. Undercard. Lerone Richards versus Carlos Gongora.
It's a good fight,
That's
I know.
really
Yeah, it is a
good
good.
fight.
Yeah. And a real. That's the acid test. That's
That's a fight that
It's a risk, isn't it?
because Gongora's still somewhat of an unknown quantity. I mean, he smashed Ali Akhmedov to pieces, and Ali Akhmedov is a good fighter. He had a lot behind him, and
it's a hard. Like Lerone Richards is beautiful to watch, right? I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I understand that. And again, he's another kid who doesn't sit down on his punches enough for that weight. The one you worry about that weight division is if you can't punch hard enough. It's hard enough at my weight to succeed when you can't punch, but you can get away with it to a certain level, to a certain extent. At the heavyweights, it's much more difficult.
Do you think it's a case of his punching power, or like one thing that I've spoken to Dave Coldwell about, obviously trains him, is injecting the pace into his work, and it's just he often kind of coasts and cruises as opposed to
he's like I think he's from that generation, the amateurs who were just before him. I felt actually, so I don't know where you got it, where they touch you with every punch. I hate this another word. Touch him. Don't just touch him. What are you on about? But they touch you with every punch. So I used to do it. I invented it actually. I was way before my time of being shit. But when you hit, as soon as it touches them, they're moving away. Because the amateurs about scoring the points, it's not about hurting anybody. So they don't move away, and that's I think that's what yes, good shot, and you don't follow through. Don't get it. No, you want to punch like a glove
punch
through the target. Yeah, but it's only a glove through the target, and I don't think he does that enough. But he probably punches hard. I used to punch hard in the gym. Like this is every coach I've had, you would say, only had two. They go, no, you couldn't believe I could knock people out. You couldn't believe I go and stopping people. But it's a mindset, and you have to have confidence in your power. Otherwise, you just revert back to what you're good at. And the worry is, the longer you don't fight that way,
the harder.
The less like the less like you're going. It's like when you train, like Carl Frost trained with the hands down low. So when he's in a fight and he gets hurt like George Groves, he can't put his hands up. You've got to train that way to box that way. So and again,
muscle memory and
it is, of course, You revert back to what you're naturally good at. You're in your natural state of comfort, and so he's never going to be that way. But he can punch a bit harder if he wanted to. But Gongora, he's got to be careful that because he'll just keep fighting on him.
Southpaw, he can punch.
Yeah,
and underrated boxing skills. I was really impressed with him against Ali Akhmedov. He was somebody who I thought like, nobody's going to fight him.
Yeah.
Because why? Why would you fight?
Well, Gongora had to fight him. That's why, isn't it?
No. Why would you fight Gongora after he beat Ali Akhmedov? It's like, well, don't fight him. Like Southpaw who could punch, still sort of unknown quantity. Like, and when this fight was made, it was sort of like, it was made around the same time as Boatsy, Max, and Vlasov, and you're looking at that thinking, matchmaker's really on one here. Like this is not brilliant for us, but
that's a case of I think with the Boatsy, it's a case of listen, like we're paying this kid good money. Like he's got to earn his stripes now. Like, I maybe, but I think with Lerone Richards, he's another one who just like he's got it because he's not a massive marketable fighter. Because he doesn't say anything audible. He's a lovely really kid.
Nice kid.
His style is not that pleasing to watch for the armchair fan.
Yeah,
if it's true. So he needs to be.
I really like watching him, but
I like watching.
But we're not the
not
the target demographic.
No,
are we?
so he has to do something different. But he's one who has to just keep beating people to get his opportunity. So this is a fight that will go massively there to put him up the rankings if he gets this way.
He sort of
makes it's a statement that not at world level.
Well,
as such, but it's just that tier below. I would think, puts him in that world level.
Yeah,
just around about.
For sure. I mean, it's similar to what we were talking about earlier with Sonny Edwards. Like, I think Richards' style, if he can box perfect and box to his style for 12 rounds, if he's quite allowed to do that, he's going to take some beating, I think. But
he is though. But
again, different weights.
Gongora is the sort of fighter who will, if you can be exposed boxing that way, he's sort of fighter who will do it.
Yeah.
Because he'll throw long and throw on you, and he'll put it on you, and that's the worry. I think that
it's knockout when he knocked out.
Yeah.
Out.
But Richard's doing all this leaning back and moving around, and then he's great to watch, and he's sublime. Some of his skills are brilliant. But yeah, he's it's a match. It's a real match.
Really good fight. That's the fight that I'm looking forward to. That more than
I'd love to see him get through it, Richards. I really would.
And in good fashion as well.
Yeah.
You do sense that he's gonna that's gonna be a fight where he's gonna have to show Gongora that he hits hard enough.
That's another thing. See, I used to say you don't have to be a knockout puncher. You can have someone walking through you. If you're not punching, as long as you that's all I could do. Enough to stop you from until I couldn't to stop you from bullying me, and that's sometimes all you need. But when you talk about genuine world level, it's not enough. And it's not enough. I found that out, and they all find it out. Even you say he's not a puncher, about people who at world level know, but they all got they got 15 out of 25 fights have been stoppages, and they're not punchers. But they punch enough. It's when you have like me, one knockout, and that was a cut eye. And the Romans has got pretty similar sort of stoppage, haven't he? Then it's not enough. You have to show more.
I think this is
This is that fight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good, and it's a real breath of fresh air. He's been matched into this fight, and it was, we've spoken in the past about Anthony Yarde, the obvious answer or the obvious kind of example of matching somebody to get to the right point. This isn't a fight that you've seen Anthony Yarde take on the way up to the Kovalev fight. Somebody like a Gongora, not a massive name.
This is Conor Benn,
who's the other one?
Cabbage and chips.
Barry's lagging.
I can barely speak English, mate. Come on, but that's the equivalent.
Yeah. It's a really good fight.
I mean, it's higher up than that actually, but it's that sort of fight, isn't it? Where you don't if he was a cash cow, Lerone Richards,
then you wouldn't have seen that fight.
Not in a million years. No chance. But good for him. I hope he wins it because he's gonna have to do it the hard way.
Yeah,
and I love that.
Okay, well there we are. I think
we got 6 minutes, mate.
We've got to get out of it in 6 minutes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Oh. So you have to clear up the set and do all your bits and pieces afterwards. But anyway. Barry, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for stopping by on the Boxing Social podcast, and to you at home, on the train, wherever you are watching the Boxing Social podcast. Thanks very much for stopping by for another episode. We'll catch up with you soon. Please be on the lookout for Boxing Social merchandise hitting the Shopify account soon. Barry loves it. He's got mugs. He's got T-shirts.
One mug. I'm taking one of those tonight.
We got a mug from him over there, and he smashed it. Brutally.
I just don't know my own strength.
But yes, thank you very much for stopping by and enjoying, hopefully, at least, episode 37 of the Boxing Social podcast, and we'll catch up with you soon.